Do not adjust your radio dial. You are tuned in to the Mark Order Podcast. Join the Mark Order.
Oh boy. It's Tuesday night. Tuesday. Yes, Tuesday. It's Tuesday night. And the mood is right. You know what that means. Maybe you don't. But it's time for the Mark Order Podcast. A proud part of the Shining Wizards Network. AntMoney here for you. Asian Joe here for you. And that's it right now. It's funny because I thought for sure we were going to have Schlong here.
Who knows? Maybe he'll do a run-in.
Are we getting big dicked again?
You never know with him. He is Schlong.
That's true. Although, Joe, I did find it funny. Last week, he had the Microsoft Edge browser behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the guy in the crowd tonight in the Netscape Navigator shirt?
Ooh, no.
That had me really laughing. I thought it was odd that I knew what the Netscape Navigator logo was, but I did not know Microsoft Edge.
Well, you grew up with Navigator. Edge is kind of one of those innocuous browsers of today.
I'm trying to think. I guess I would have, but I would have grown up, I think, with like Internet Explorer more than Netscape Navigator.
Really?
I don't know.
Okay.
Was
yeah, we had Navigator in junior high school when I was growing up.
Was that an Apple?
I believe so. I can just watch the little comets fly until they stop flying. That means you are frozen.
Oh, I had no idea.
Oh.
Wow.
You missed out.
I don't remember. If it was an Apple thing, then I definitely wouldn't have had it in grammar school or junior high. Because I didn't, I think my parents decided to send me to a Catholic school. So we had no money. Zero. Anyway, how's it going, Joe? Good to see you.
It's going. I been a busy weekend, so happy to be here on a Wednesday of a Tuesday.
It says Wednesday of a Tuesday. Maybe it's Tuesday of a Wednesday. Whatever. Well, you traveled, right? You took a trip.
I did. I ended up in Illinois, home of the Kahn family, University of Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
I walked past the Shad Khan Tennis Center, watched Nebraska win a football game there, and came back home and went to a wrestling thing that happens on Monday nights. Since I was in Omaha, there were some friends of mine who weren't wrestling fans, and kind of exposed them to pro wrestling and all the fanfare that goes with it.
You can say where you went, Joe. You don't have to speak in code.
I know. People know what happens on Monday night.
Football?
Well, I mean, sometimes it's war.
Well, they haven't done that in a long time, right?
Well, I mean, they did play Sami Zayn's old theme music, so.
Oh, I have no idea. I haven't watched wrestling on Monday nights in a long time.
Probably better off for it.
Well, did you have a good time?
Yeah, I did. And I think I realized two things. One, I feel like my friends who went with me, more the Attitude Era fans, I told them that I think they would have enjoyed AEW's product better with the action and some of the characters that are in AEW. I told them, like, Chris Jericho's still wrestling, Billy Gunn is still wrestling, and he scissors people. So that won them over. And I also realized that sitting around a bunch of like little kids around me with their dads and their families yelling, they hate women wrestling. It really starts at a young age. Like, they were so bored out of their minds watching the women wrestle.
Who wrestled?
Well, Becky Lynch was wrestling. She wrestled Tegan Knox, and it made a good match, but initially, right away, like, this is boring. They're not doing anything fun. This is stupid.
You sound like Kate.
Right? Like, they were like a basket of chicken tenders away from being Kate.
Wow. Well, it's
Yeah.
interesting. It's interesting. Yeah, I just, it was just the product didn't do it for me anymore, right? Like, they moved on to TV PG stuff. I'm a little old for, Sesame Street in my wrestling ring. So I just moved on. If you like watching it, that's totally fine. I know a lot of people were going back and forth tonight between NXT and Dynamite. I hit my down button once or twice because I forgot there's a couple channels between ESPN and TBS. But I can tell you this, the time I stopped on it, I don't know if I knew anybody on camera. So it's not for me anymore. I'm just not going to watch it. I'm not going to waste my time. But I get it. Well, look who's here now.
There was an overrun, and you didn't build in any of it for our show?
They were supposed to only go 10 minutes, which would have left us 5 minutes.
But they went 15.
Yeah, and guess who was on here on time? Joe and AntMoney.
Well, common sense would have just said we'll go out a few more minutes, but I guess you didn't want to do that.
I tried.
No, why would we want to do that?
I tell you.
I posed the question earlier, and the answer's like, nope, we're doing it 9:15. Run over be damned.
On the East Coast, that's right.
Yeah, but that was when it was 10:10. As soon as it hits 10:15, you should at least go back to 10:20.
No, why do that?
So people can get drinks and other things?
People will join us. The first 45 minutes of this fucking show is no wrestling.
People being me.
Well, Ryan, be prepared, my friend. Were you a Boy Scout?
No, because I didn't want to get touched.
Well,
wow.
It's the motto. Always be prepared.
There's a documentary on it, I think, on Netflix.
Scouts on there or something.
Yeah, this is it. I don't know anything else, but this was it.
I made it to
I
Cub
can't
Scouts
do that one either.
No, I think he's doing the Boy Scouts one accurately.
Come on, Ryan. Don't be so fucking salty tonight.
There's no
How
salt.
you doing, Ryan?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Couldn't eke out a win last night, huh?
No, so my opinion on this has shifted from the time of the game where obviously you're upset and mad because literally that ball is 4 inches higher and the Phillies have it. So, but if you asked me before the game last night, especially before the series, I would have said, just take one in Atlanta. That's all you had to do. And they did that. And they did the same thing in the playoffs last year where they blew a lead to go up 2-0, and they did fine. So this is team, I forget who said it. It's a Philly writer, but they're like, the advantage of this team having one brain cell is that they seem to forget everything that happens the game before. And I really embrace that. So I'm not too worried about it.
You really worked your way through the stages of grief. Like you like
Very
acceptance, reconcile.
Yeah.
Sports, I've said it from day one, I do not let sports bother me more than a few minutes.
It's a very fast grieving process. I will say that
it's the greatest, guys. It's the greatest way to live. I don't let it ruin my day, but when they win, it's just the greatest thing ever. I have all highs, very few lows.
Oh, I don't let anything ruin my day.
There's a lot of sports people that do.
Can I tell you something about a sport that ruined my day on Saturday?
Sure.
watching 7-year-old play soccer.
Oh, now that ruins it.
I was dragged along with my buddy and his wife because he helped coach their son's team. And these 7 and 8-year-olds wanted to be anywhere else but on this soccer field at 4 p.m. And it was, I don't ask much of little kids to, when they're playing sports, be active, be engaged, look like you want to be there, look like you want to care. But these kids were like, sitting up against the goalpost, running in circles, trailing the ball by half the field. It was just, I had no idea what was going on. The coach was checked out.
I can tell you this. I did the T-ball coaching this year as much as I could because they brought me back into my office. But I can tell you this, that was like 6-year-olds at the oldest. You could be 6. And at that level, like T-ball, and at the end of the year, you start doing like coach's pitch, right? So you just give them some lobs. At that age, it's not like knowing the fine points of the game, right? It's just, you hit, you go to one base, you try to get the ball and throw it to the base, right? It's like the basics. I would think it's sort of the same thing for soccer, right? When you're like 5, 6, it's, running and kicking the ball. It's not the finer points, but it's 7. Man, you got to be somewhat engaged. Not like fucking, World Cup level soccer, but at least be sort of standing in a spot, knowing where you are, sort of kicking the ball around. That's Bush League, Joe. I'll give that to you.
They have one more game left. And that's how far they're in the season. So,
wow.
Yeah. What are you going to do, kids?
Well, Ryan,
one thing I will say, and I don't want to sound like an old man here, but having nephews and all watching and friends with kids and all that.
Oh,
when I don't like the way they go about sports for some of the young kids now. Where like the first couple years, it's like, oh, we're just gonna do drills, or you're not gonna play games. You're just gonna, if it's soccer, you're just gonna kick, or if it's baseball, you're just gonna hit a field, but you're not gonna play games. No. Like it's all practice. Like it's all practice.
Well, I can tell you this.
And no, Joe, not a game, practice.
Right. Last year, not this past season, last year when Anthony did T-ball, every Saturday was like a clinic. There were no games. Maybe the last clinic that they did was sort of like, okay, you're going to hit and you're going to run to first. And the next kid's going to get up, you're going to hit and run to first, right? This year you play games, and they played like 3 times a week. So there really is like no practice. I think at one point, I heard some other coaches talking about practice, and I was like, fuck that. These kids are just going to get out there and play the game, right? And that's really all it is. Just get them out there, teach them the basics, and let them do their thing. What I don't agree with, and we didn't really, because you never have any outs, right? Like with T-ball this year, you don't have any outs. Everybody hits around, and then you basically switch sides, right? Because they're not good enough to get the 3 outs, right? And by the end of the season, they were good enough to, like pick up the ball, know where to throw it, right? And then they're not like catching it, receiving it from each other, right? But like it's close. Like they're really close. So they didn't necessarily keep score. We didn't keep score because it's just, 6-6 every inning, right? Everybody scores. So we didn't necessarily keep score. What I find weird is that when you get to certain ages, it's like there's no score. Like if you're playing soccer, there's leagues where it's like you don't keep score. You don't win, you don't lose, you just don't keep score. I don't agree with that, and that's not me being a boomer. I just think there's something to learning on how to deal with a loss and how to deal with a win and that sort of stuff, right?
Also keeps the kids engaged. Again, like I have no problem with what you described with the T-ball. I think we did that when I was a kid as T-ball, or my nephews. I don't think my nephews played baseball, so I don't know what they did with T-ball. I know my cousin's kids did, and the same thing. Because you can't get 3 outs. Like you said, they're not good enough to get you 3 outs. Those
are tough, hand-eye coordination, catching a ball, that's tough. Like, and they got better
You're
through
still
the year.
playing.
Yes,
But you're still
you are still
you're
playing.
still simulating the game, so the kids think they're into it.
Mhm.
But you should, and I understand not keeping score there, but like having again nephews at that age or even keeping score not only teaches loss and how to handle loss stuff, it also just gets kids engaged. Because all like competition, people like competition. We seem to forget that. Like kids get bored when they're like, "What does this even matter?" They care more when they're like, "Yeah, we." And by the way, they are keeping the score in their head.
Yeah. Yeah. You know who's
We're doing
winning.
nothing. I guess maybe we're helping their mental math skills, but
Who knows? Well, Ryan, I will say this, just jumping back to the Phillies really quick. Before this series started, I was like, I think these Phillies are going to shut them down. I think it's going to be quick. I think they're going to shut them down. After yesterday, I'm a little concerned now. I'm a little concerned that the Braves were woken up a little bit.
Phillies gave them yesterday. They left a lot of men on base. Braves made the most of their opportunities. However, Braves pitchers the next two games aren't the strongest pitchers in their rotation. Nola has been on the upswing, and Phillies bats are just unbelievable. And Phillies are very, very good at home. So, and teams that have taken the first game on the road win the series two out of three times. So,
Well, we'll see. All I know is that, like, you look at that Houston, Minnesota series. Houston's now pulled ahead 2-1.
listen, I'm not saying it can. I'm a realist, but
I know.
we'll see how it
I know.
goes. I
Listen,
got an undefeated football team that's a little shaky at times. I got the
Mhm.
Phillies doing their thing, and I got a terrible hockey team and a basketball team I can't even talk about. So
Why not? You don't trust the process with the basketball team?
I don't trust James Harden. God damn.
He wanted to come back, at least now. By midseason, he'll want out. Don't worry.
Eagles want to stay if they're doing well.
No, man. Didn't work out in Brooklyn. He had
But they weren't
start.
doing well, so he's like, I want out. Like right now, he wants out. But if they come out and all of a sudden they're gelling again, and it's like, oh, they might actually have a team, he'll be like, all of a sudden he'll find a reason to stay.
Well, I'll say it. Trust the process. That's the 76ers way. And who knows with hockey, right? Hockey's one of these sports too, Ryan. I know on paper you have a terrible team, but you honestly never know what can happen. It's a long season, and guys get hurt. A lot of moves, get made. You never know. Listen, did I think the Devils were going to have the season they did last year? Hell no. I mean, they look good this year, but you never know. They
Flyers are a
can.
very young team, So that's why, like, part of it's like, I don't think they have the experience to be that good.
Look to New Jersey, my friend. They're a young team too. It could happen. Is all I'm saying.
Somehow Chicago gets goddamn Bedard.
Well, I'm sorry.
Lottery's rigged.
Well, hockey did start this evening, so happy hockey season, everybody. What else is going on? Like you said, 5-0. Your team's 5-0. Your football team.
I don't know.
Oof.
They've looked shaky at times, but they pull out their wins.
Yeah.
But the Cowboys are looking shaky now, so you're
The only fear is San Fran. They look like a
right.
goddamn juggernaut.
I honestly think San Francisco's going to win the whole thing. I thought last year they had a chance. I think this year there's a better chance they win the whole thing.
I'm not the chance that the Eagles would have is that the Eagles' defensive line is very good. So if they can get to Brock Purdy, that they really have a good shot.
Well,
but we'll see.
It's a long season, my friend. It's a long season.
Yes, it is.
I know, Ryan. I'll be going to a Devils game. I'm going to be going to at least one Devils game this season.
Oh, really?
Tickets. Yeah, I don't remember when it is, but I know I'm going to one. And then actually, New Jersey last year started doing this thing where they were having like these New Jersey bands playing in the Prudential Center, like between intermissions. And there's a hardcore band. I'm friendly with the singer. They're called The Banner. Joey, who sings for them, actually did our logo work.
Okay.
and they are going to be playing at one of the Devils games this year. So I'm definitely going to go to that one. But I have to get tickets. I'm waiting for them to put a ticket sale up because I guess if you buy a ticket through them, maybe it helps them out some way. I have no clue. That should be interesting, seeing a hardcore band play in the second intermission of a Devils game in the Prudential Center.
Good for them. That's awesome.
I know they're big Devils fans, so that should be fun. It's one of my favorite crossover pieces of merch. He made shirts that had the Devils logo on it, and then it had their, like, it looks like an upside down cross, but it forms a B, and then like all these runes in it. And on the back it has like NJHC on it and stuff like that. It's one of my favorite crossover pieces of merch I've ever gotten. It's fantastic. Well, I'm glad you guys both had good weekends. I'm trying to think if I did anything this weekend. Saturday kind of sucked because it was like rainy, right? Yeah, Saturday was rainy here. I did happen to go to a store around, well, about 45 minutes away called Pandora's Box. It is not, or no, Pandora's Box or Pandora's Toy Chest. I don't fucking know. I'll get the name. But it's basically like a collectibles, a toy store. You know, like a lot of the stores that are around now where they'll go and they'll buy toys and resell them and stuff like that. Danhausen's going to be there in a couple weeks. Thinking about maybe taking the boy to see Danhausen. It's also a Halloween costume contest, so that could be fun.
Would be a very nice trip.
Not very evil.
It can go either way. Could go either way, to be honest. But that was a lot of fun. They had a lot of cool wrestling stuff. You know, a lot of WWE, a lot of AEW stuff on the shelf. Ryan, they also had a lot of WCW stuff, like still on card.
Jesus.
Yeah. And then they had a bunch of loose stuff too, you know, like in little Ziploc bags that they had, you know, sort of hanging on the shelf, some of the better looking, you know, in better shape ones. And then of course they had all the loose bins where it's like, you know, 2 for $10 or whatever. So
did they have the old WCW figures that were about 6 inches that didn't move? They just were like in one pose.
Yes, they did. And they just like vibrated.
Oh, I didn't have the vibrated one. I just had like, no, Tom Zink, the Z-Man, like flexing, and Ric Flair in the grapple hold, like looking like he's about to like collar and elbow.
Yeah, I think later they did ones that were like that, but they had like a little button on it and they were vibrated. They were, I think, called rumblers or something like that. I think there was a Big Show, or what was he, the Giant, right? And he was just in his giant pose, and maybe a Scott Steiner that was just doing, you know, some sort of flex pose. So they had all sorts of stuff like that. They had a bunch of like, you know, fuck man, they had like Gargoyles toys still on the card. I got Mrs. Money, a Connie Conehead figure still on the card. That was fun.
From the Coneheads?
Yes, Connie Conehead from the Coneheads. No Beldars though. It's kind of disappointed. No Beldars. So they had all sorts of shit. A lot of old stuff, but sort of a lot of like newish stuff. They did have a talking Urkel doll. Remember those?
Did I do that?
Yeah, believe it or not, I still have one up in my attic somewhere.
What else
And he
did it
talks.
say besides that? I mean, did it say that in 5 different ways, or?
Nope. He said, "Did I do that?" I think he said, "Got any cheese?"
Oh yeah.
And then he did his like laugh, and I think it was those 3 things just over and over again. They also had an Ernest doll, very much the same thing, where he had a pull toy and he would say like, you know, "Hey Vern," or like, "Know what I mean?" or something like that. That was fun.
Know what I mean, Vern?
Yeah, know what I mean? So that was cool. And then they also had, I don't know if I told you guys this. I don't remember where we went, but we bought, like, we were somewhere at a store sort of like this. And Anthony saw these cards that were like dinosaur cards. And he brought them up to the counter and he's like, "Mom said I could get these." And I looked at them and they were called Dinosaurs Attack. And I was like, gee, you're good with this? And she was like, yeah, it's fine. And I was like, okay, I think it's okay. I just want to make sure. So we bought them, and he opens them in the car, and he's like, whoa, these are cool. And it's like comic booky dinosaur scenes, and like it's dinosaurs eating people. Like somehow dinosaurs are living in the same time as modern man, and they're like ripping guys apart. Like literally like two of them biting one person, pulling him apart, and like all this stuff. And I was like, and Gina's looking at him, she's like, what the hell? I was like, yeah, I thought you kind of like, they were called Dinosaurs Attack. Like I thought you knew, because I was like, if you're cool, like I'm cool, like whatever. Well, this store had them, so we bought him some more packs of them. And I don't remember exactly what it was called tonight, but Gina was looking at the cards and she just started laughing, and she's like, I'm keeping this one. And I think it was called like Sweet Release of Death or something like that. It's just wild, like these dinosaurs pulling people apart. So that was fun. I
love that you're like, oh, what the hell? And then you're like, so we got him more.
Well, he's already got some, so it's like, what am I gonna do? Say no, you can't get some more? Why not? The grossest part is
you took your kid to Guar, so I mean, you've already, you know.
Listen, we try to teach him a little bit about everything, right? We took him to Guar, we take him to Rob Zombie, you know, we take him to see the movies and stuff like that. You know, like we don't take him to like rated R movies, right? Like he saw the Ninja Turtles movie, we saw Mario's, like, and then at
just
the same
NC-17.
Yeah, you know, kids, showgirls, all that kind of stuff. And then Gina reminded me tonight too about we had to take him to we took him to my niece's not baptism, I'm sorry, her first communion. And he was asking us all these questions because we're just not into the whole Jesus thing. So he's asking us all these questions like, who's that guy up there? You know, it's Jesus on the cross. And we're trying to explain to him, and he's like, well, why has he got that thing? And like, why, you know, he's like the cut on his side, you know, where they speared him.
Yeah.
And he's like, how's he hanging up on that thing? And we were just like, don't worry about it, buddy. It's just like a statue, you know? And then it was one of the funniest moments. The priest starts doing the homily, and he's talking to all the kids. It's communion, right? So he's talking to the kids, and he goes, I have something very special to tell you today. Jesus is coming here today. And Anthony turned around and looked at us like, so excited. And we were like, no. Jesus is not coming here today. He will not be here. And I also said to Gina, the funny thing is that like kids think that's something great, but I think you guys know, like anytime we hear as adults, like, you know, Jesus is here, like it's never a good thing, or it's like the end of the world, you know? So it was very funny. So see, Ryan, we do all sorts of stuff with him, not just dinosaurs ripping people apart.
Yeah, you showed a man being crucified and stabbed with a spear.
No, he wasn't being stabbed. He had already been stabbed.
Okay.
It was after the battery.
The sweet relief of death.
That's right. Gordon Post said, when you said dinosaur cards, I thought you meant the show dinosaurs. He has seen the show Dinosaurs. We've showed him that to a certain point, because that show gets pretty dark towards the end. I mean, they all just die.
The ending is very dark.
Mm-hmm.
They all just die of global warming. So,
well, if you know anything about dinosaurs, you know how it ends, right? Like,
very true. Very true. But the whole message at the end, Joe, was that dinosaurs are fucking up the planet, and you know, I can't remember what the fuck they called it. The Ice Age is coming, and it's going to wipe us all out. So they were just facing down death. So it's pretty dark. But see, Anthony also really enjoys, on the flip side of that, Anthony also really enjoys Family Matters. He's a connoisseur. He likes Urkel a lot.
Did I do that?
Oh, Ryan, he thinks that's the funniest shit in the world.
Got any cheese?
Oh, he thinks that's hilarious. You'd be fucking hitting on all cylinders with him, Ryan.
Oh, I know my Urkel.
You're playing all the hits. I know
bust
that.
out the doll, man. You have it upstairs. You sit in the attic.
I gotta find it. It's somewhere upstairs. It's definitely here. I would never have gotten rid of an Urkel doll. I don't get rid of a lot of stuff like that, but I never would have gotten rid of the Urkel doll. The only problem is his glasses So the way the glasses were connected to his head was they were one solid piece, but in the middle of the nose piece on the back here was like a little peg, and it just stuck into like a little hole between his eyes, and that little peg broke off inside his doll head. So his glasses just dangle there.
No,
Sad. I know. But that was my Saturday. We went to do that, and then saw my brother on Sunday with the rest of the fam.
Thank you for posting your fit pics.
Oh, I forgot about that, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, fuck the fit pics.
What are you let down?
What are you talking about?
You didn't have any black shirts or navy shirts or all white.
That's what
shirts.
I'm saying.
You had way too much color and pattern.
Thank you, Joe, for picking up exactly where I was going with that.
Oh my God. What is wrong with you, Ryan? Come on.
I just expect better.
Better? Okay. So Ryan, we have to be clear of one thing. You should know that going into this trip, Mrs. Money and I were saying, our cruise wear is going to be quote unquote unhinged. That was the look we were going for, the unhinged cruise wear look. So I'll pull it up so you can see it here. But Ryan, this was like my first full day, right? And now I didn't wear this around all day because I was in a swimsuit looking fine. But this was just my leisure wear. Now, Ryan, this is one that I had prior. This had gone to, I think, one of the Grand Slam events. This was one of my outfits. So this is an old one. This was a second day, right? This was also a repeat from one of the Grand Slams. Okay, so these were ones I had. The new ones, though, Ryan, that you hadn't seen was this one, the flamingos. Come on, Ryan.
All right, so I have some correct things that would improve this shirt. Get rid of the flamingos and the feathers, and just make it one solid color.
They're not feathers. Those are palm leaves.
Oh, it looks like feathers from here.
Nope, palm leaves.
Ryan, how
Get rid of the palm leaves and the flamingos.
How do you feel
Go
about
one
the
solid color.
How do you feel about the buttons?
Get rid of them too. Just make it a shirt with no buttons.
And no collar?
No collar.
Now, this one you can't see so well because I like this picture so much of me and Mrs. Money here.
Again, get rid of the green palms. Go all white shirt. No collar, no buttons.
No. Can I also tell you guys this? And I don't think Mrs. Money would have a problem. I don't think Mrs. Money would have a problem. But on this particular night, we were at dinner, and we happened to have some pills with us that really relaxed us. Felt pretty good. Maybe something I got at a dispensary here before we left New Jersey. So we're eating dinner, feeling good. And just so you guys know, this was the same night that we had a reservation just for the shit and giggles of it to see Cats. They had a abridged production of Cats on the boat. So this is us before Cats started. But I can tell you this much. It got way too real too fast in Cats.
I got questions on why you would see Cats.
I think, Ryan, as I had mentioned, I took a pill.
I don't care. It's Cats.
Yeah, Ryan, because when you're feeling good and a little goofy, you're like, fuck it, man, let's go see Cats. It doesn't cost anything. And I'm feeling like I'm in a good space. And then when Cats started, I was like, I am not mentally prepared to see Cats right now. Because here's the moment I realized I was not in the right headspace for Cats. Because I don't know if you guys know, and I didn't know too much about Cats until I saw it. And first of all, we didn't make it through the whole show, and it was abridged. We didn't make it through the whole thing. Because I was like, we can't stay here. I have to fucking go. We have to go. Like, I was like, I gotta go. I still don't know what that fucking show's about. No clue. All I know is they said the word Jellicle like 1,000 times, and I have no
I think
idea.
they made that type up too.
Who the fuck cares? It was so stupid, but I could tell you this. If you didn't know, in Cats, they come on and off the stage, like from the floor. So, like, you know, in a normal play, you exit side stage and you re-enter side stage. In Cats, they will come off the front of the stage and go to the sides of the stage or go up the aisles. It's fucking weird. And at one point, there's like 15 fucking cats on stage, and they start going into this long fucking diatribe. I have no idea. They're all reciting the same thing at the same time about this Jellicle cat bullshit. But as they're doing that, they are slowly getting off of the stage and going sort of like into the crowd. So Mrs. Money and I are on the floor all the way on the end because I was like, if we have to go, like, we got to sit on the edge. So, like, let's just do that. So we did. So we were maybe like 10 rows back from the stage. And the moment they started coming off stage, I was like, oh no, like, this ain't good. I saw a cat person literally climb on the backs of the chairs and start crawling across it in the first row. And I was just like, oh no, this isn't good. And then a cat slowly starts making its way up the aisle to where we are. And in my brain, I'm just like, no, this is not good. And in front of Mrs. Money and I were sitting a guy, his wife, I assume, and they had their baby with them, like a tiny baby. They had to hold him. And the baby kept looking back at me and Mrs. Money like, are you seeing this bullshit? And I was a little bugged out. I was like, this kid needs to look the other way because this is really freaking me out. But the cat then started inching closer to us and then stopped once it saw the baby and then started to like inch closer and closer and closer to this baby as it's reciting this thing, kind of like I'm doing right now onto this microphone. And as it's doing that to the baby, I'm just doing this, sinking back into my chair slowly, as if to say, please don't notice me. And shortly after that, I was like, you know, like I was sort of dozing off because it was boring as shit, but I was also like, I can't do this. Like, we gotta go. So that was a hell of an evening, my friends. But that was my attire for the evening, Ryan. It was so comfortable. We were going for watermelon chic, by the way. That was what we called this. Mrs. Money was wearing her pink dress. I was wearing my green kit.
There'd just be one solid color, white. You know, you could have done solid green too. No collar, no buttons.
Well, this is the last one. You can't tell here, but this is pretty much orange and shades of orange. Again, I didn't realize when I got it that I had gotten 2 flamingo prints, but I'm very happy with that. This had flamingos. So flamingos, palms again, and it's all sort of shades of orange. And Ryan, what maybe is not coming across for you here is that the tops and the bottoms matched. Same print all the way down.
Yeah, no, I don't approve.
You know what, Ryan? You're no
Too
fun.
much color.
You're no fun.
You know, I was thinking of a Halloween costume this year, and I think I can go dressed up as Ryan for Halloween.
Yeah.
I have a Phillies hat. I can find a plain shirt. I think I can pull this off.
I mean, you could buy a 3-pack of shirts.
Ooh.
You know, like 3-pack of Hanes black, and you're good.
You can get Hanes white too. I wear that.
Okay.
Whatever makes you happy.
I've seen you in more dark colors, Ryan, though, than white.
I wear a mix. Whatever makes me happy. Joe,
yeah.
I dress common because I don't need my clothing to express my wonderful personality.
Ryan, I'm never going to see any of those people ever again in my life. What do I care what they think of me?
No. That was not the shot I was taking. I was taking a different shot.
Oh, you mean just about yourself in general?
No, the shot. It doesn't work if I have to explain it. The shot
I don't
was that
understand it, Ryan.
you need clothing to have a personality, and I don't. That was the shot.
Well, that didn't come across perhaps because you don't have a personality.
Oh, sure.
Well, you don't make friends on the cruise.
No, I didn't. So, this is what I said to Mrs. Money, because I do have the vape, and she was catching up on sleep, which I totally get, but like I'm not ready to go to sleep at the same time as her every night. So I'd go up on the deck or maybe down in the casino where you could smoke, and I'd hit the vape, and like if I was in the casino, I'd watch whatever weird sports were on, or just sit up and listen to something in my headphones on the deck. And that's the only way you really meet people is if you're a smoker, because there's not a lot of places to sit. So if I'm sitting by myself at a table with 4 chairs, people will be like, "Oh, can I sit?" And then they will want to talk. I am never initiating a conversation, but they want to talk to me. But here's the other thing, Asian Joe, is that these people are often fucking hammered. So the next day, yes, I might see them around, but they have no fucking clue because they were so drunk. Like, I ran into these 2 kids on one night. They were walking through someplace and they were really loud, and I was trying to not be in the same direction as them because I hate calling that kind of attention to myself. And we just kept running into each other. Like, they were going in the same area as I was, but they were looking for something different. I was looking for a fucking Coke machine, and they were looking for booze. And we kept running into each other, and then they wouldn't stop talking to me. They like wouldn't leave me alone. So I was just like, I indulged them. I ran into those guys. I crossed paths with them at least once a day for the entire trip. They had no clue who I was. No idea. So
I mean,
no, I
if
didn't make
you
a ton
want to
of
make
friends.
friends on a cruise, just put the pineapple on your door.
You know what, Ryan? I'll tell you this. We went looking around for the pineapples to see. Yeah, like we wanted to see. There were not a lot of shit. There were a lot of people with their doors done, right? Like with different magnets on their doors and maybe like birthday or like anniversary, this and that. No pineapples. I was really disappointed.
I think I'm wondering if we don't realize that the it's changed. It's no longer pineapples because people know what that is now. I'm wondering if you were in the culture, it would be something else now that we're just unaware of.
Well, Ryan, are you going on the Jared cruise again?
Yeah.
Take the pineapple. See if you get a
No, I
response from
don't. I don't need to. Joe. I find the loudspeaker. I get on the loudspeaker. I give out my room number, and then I just get a line down the hall.
Okay, so you don't need bright, loud clothing for a personality. You just need a megaphone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Noted.
And then he just gets all the cabin boys that he can, just like Dalton Castle's boys in his room.
Exactly. Now we understand.
I can also tell you, gentlemen, this, and I know we talked about the cruise when I got back from it, but I can tell you this. I don't know if I mentioned this. So we were talking on the boat. This was Mrs. Money's first cruise, and she had a good time. But she was like, "Hey, you know how you always ask like about doing a wrestling cruise or blah blah blah?" She's like, "Yeah, there's no fucking way. Like I would do a wrestling cruise after doing this." She's like, "I don't have a problem with this, but like there's no way I'd be stuck on a boat with all those wrestling people." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's why I don't want to do a wrestling cruise." Like I don't.
You have a misconception of what it is.
No, it's not that. I don't want to be trapped in the same place where you see the same people all the time who are so hyper into whatever it's about. Like Schlong, I don't want to go on a music cruise, and I like live music and heavy metal and stuff like that. I don't want to do that.
No, but see, like again, I think you still have a misconception because people have spent a lot of money and they haven't spent it all just to see wrestling. They've spent it to go on a vacational, except the wrestling cruise provides some entertainment along the way that they really enjoy. Honestly, it's not like it's a lot of wrestling because you want to watch it because it's entertainment, but not really like what the conversations were a lot of.
I still don't want to be on a boat with like 5,000 wrestling fans. The same way I don't want to be on the boat with like 5,000 heavy metal fans. There are very few. I think maybe the only cruise, like theme cruise, that I'd maybe be willing to try was like one of the comedy ones that happens. Like I know Bert Kreischer does a cruise, and I've seen some
Kevin
of the
Smith's doing
comedians.
one.
I don't know if I do Kevin Smith. That's a little too much.
I'm just saying I know who does them.
But like I know Bert does a Kreischer cruise, and like I know a lot of the comics that go on that. Like I'm into a lot of those comics. Like Big J Okerson has done it. You know, they've done Bonfire episodes. They've done like Skank Fest episodes and stuff like that. I know a lot of those comics. Maybe I'd do that. Or like I've heard the Impractical Jokers one. While I'm not into the Impractical Jokers, sort of the same thing, right? Like a lot of the comedians I've seen on that cruise, like I'm into a lot of their stuff. Like maybe I'd do that because that's sort of a different thing. But at the same time, I'm like, I know there's probably a lot of people who are like way into comedy who think they're super funny and probably want to be.
I really think you have a misconception about the people that go on this thing.
No, trust me, I don't.
You do though, because you haven't been on it. So you gotta trust me on this one.
Joe, here's what this is. Ryan has drank the Kool-Aid and he's in.
I am the most antisocial motherfucker you can meet. And you think I'm the one who's gonna be like, yeah, let me only be around people that want to talk one thing. No, you just it honestly is as much about the vacation as it is anything else, except there's good entertainment in between.
I mean, I don't even need the entertainment. Like,
apparently you do. You went and saw Cats.
Yeah, Ryan, I was stoned, dude.
Joe, he's trying to excuse it. He can't.
Okay.
There's only one way to solve this, and it ends up with both of you being on a wrestling cruise together.
No way. Ryan, enjoy yourself. I have no problem if you enjoy it. I just can't be trapped on a boat. I'm telling you, it's the same thing. If I went on that like 70,000 tons of metal tour cruise, I would be like, fucking kill me now. Because I
don't think outside of when we were actively watching the wrestling, I had many wrestling conversations while I was on that thing.
But I don't want to have any conversations.
Then don't. Like, that's what I don't get. Why do you think you would?
Ryan, and I know this is going to sound like such an asshole thing. I have the face of somebody who it's like, this guy's okay to talk to. I shit you not, Ryan.
Then we'll work on your resting bitch face. I got it.
Ryan, I've done everything I could to deter people. I used to wear big headphones like this when I would commute to the city in and out every day for work. Like when I had to go into Penn Station in New York and walk up to my job on 50th. Ryan, I would have these giant headphones on in the street. People would stop to ask me questions like directions. I'm like, I have no clue. And I'm wearing headphones and I'm looking at the ground. Like there were times where I'd be sitting on a train, waiting to go home, looking down at my phone, typing, watching something, whatever. And I see feet stopped in front of me, pointing at me. And I can hear muffled something in my ears. And I look up and see somebody's gums flapping. And I pull the things off my ear. And I said, excuse me? And they go, oh, can you tell me if this train makes a stop? I'm like, there are 10,000 other people on this train. Well, not 10,000. There's 100 other people on this train. You got to stop and ask me, Ryan. I've been in quick check parking lots at like 2 a.m, having conversations with my friends, smoking a cigarette, and random people. I shit you not. One time this random dude rolls up and just starts talking to me about some bullshit. I'm in the middle of a conversation and some guy's just like, hey man, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, what? It's just me. I don't know what it is. I have the beard.
We'll work on your resting bitch face. We'll get it.
Well, my God. Well, it's been 49 minutes. We haven't talked any wrestling. We've talked everything else. Perhaps we should at least touch on some wrestling before it gets out of hand. Why don't we quickly do this before we get to a little break, and then we talk about Dynamite and everything else we got to talk about. Why don't we run through Rampage and Collision, just the results, and if you guys want to talk about anything, we certainly can. For Rampage, we had the Hardys and Best Friends defeat Jake Hager, Daddy Magic, Daniel Garcia, and Angelo Parker. Renee Paquette interviewed Eddie Kingston, who was interrupted by Jeff Jarrett, Satnam Singh, and Sanjay Dutt. There was a video hyping Danhausen's return soon. That's very exciting. Very nice. Very nice. Very evil. Claudio and Wheeler Yuta defeated Levi Shapiro and Wise Guy Ruiz. Commander defeats Penta El Zero Miedo, Lince Dorado, and Johnny TV. And that was a four-way match, to earn the Ring of Honor World title match against Eddie Kingston. We had an Ortiz, Mike Santana video package. So they're playing up this whole, I think, work shoot angle. And then Sheeta and Chris Statlander defeat Nyla Rose and Marina Shafir. And that was pretty much the night. Anybody have anything they would like to mention about Rampage?
Not about Rampage.
Perfect. I will say this. Rampage was perfectly serviceable. That's how I'll say. Moving on to Collision. In Collision, for those who collided, Ricky Starks and Big Bill defeated FTR to become your new AEW Tag Team Champions. We'll come back and discuss this stuff. Let's just get to the results. Bryan Danielson defeated Kyle Fletcher. The Gates of Agony jumped Bryan Danielson as the bell rang to end the match, and that's when Claudio and Wheeler got into the fray. That's what's setting their match up. There's a Starks interview saying there's going to be no rematch with FTR. They're the real faces of Collision now. We had Juice and the Guns defeat Metalik, Gravity, and Helico. I have to say this before I forget. I will never find it unfunny that Gravity moves in slow motion. I just think that's fucking great. We had a Jay White promo. We had a Nick Wayne explanation on why he turned on Darby. The Iron Savages and Jack Jameson say they're going to eat ass in the ring, and that's when they lose to Daddy Ass and the Acclaimed. I also enjoyed how after that match, Max Caster basically eats ass to the air. I don't know if you guys caught that. He spread the cheeks and was just eating ass. My goodness. Hype video for Timeless Tony Storm. And then Tony Storm defeats Kiera Hogan. I really love the goddamn Tony Storm thing they're working now. Ruby Soho was informed she was banned from ringside on tonight's episode of Dynamite, which we'll get to. And then Eddie Kingston defeats Commander to retain his Ring of Honor World Championship. Commander cashed in. They shook hands after the match. All was well. And then Adam Copeland came to the ring and basically, talked a bunch. And then Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne came down to the ring and he got jumped. Darby came down. He got jumped. And they concerto his arm. And that is the show. So things did not end well for Adam Copeland on Collision. Now, Tarantinoing this thing, going backwards. Boy, that tag match, I honestly didn't think it was going to go that way, but clearly there's an injury here, right? That's the word around the streets.
That's the rumor.
So where do we go with Ricky Starks and Big Bill? Do we let them hold these titles? Do we have them face the Bucks and bring the belts off them immediately? If in a perfect world for you guys, what do you do? Joe, what's your take on that?
I think you follow what the original plan was, as far as if the plan was originally supposed to be for the belts to go on Aussie Open before they got hurt. Just keep it with a heel team. And then, because I mean, the Bucks have had enough, and they have other things going on, the 6-man tag belts of ROH and everything else. So I would say hopefully you can find another face tag team that can take them off of the transitional champions.
Schlong, what do you think? Would you leave the belts on him or have him be transitional?
I think I'd leave him on him for a little. I mean, it doesn't have to be a long run, but I give him a couple defenses. Starks wasn't ready for a belt, but he's clearly hot. And by ready, I mean just storyline wise, but he's clearly hot. So this gives him a belt to walk around with. And Big Bill is doing great work. So yeah, I'd leave it on for a short run. I do want to go back to Nick Wayne's promo. I loved it. I thought it was a great explanation of like, you left me, and then when I start to make progress, you decide to come back in and make it all about you. Like, I thought that was actually decent justification for why you would make the decision you made. I wasn't sure what route they were going to go with it, and I actually kind of liked the way they did.
It felt a little similar to AR Fox's argument about Darby leaving him behind.
It's just what Darby does.
I mean,
But I agree, but AR blew it.
yeah, I mean, it didn't help that AR Fox wasn't forthcoming about his passport status. But yeah, I want to say this about both things. About the tag titles, I actually don't mind letting Ricky and Big Bill hold those belts for a little while. Like, you know, yeah, they probably were supposed to stay on FTR, for a little bit. The injury's there, so let's move it off him. Starks is hot enough to have a belt. Big Bill had nothing going on, but I think Big Bill is a nice pairing with Starks, So I don't mind them having a belt and this all sort of going to Ricky's head, right? Like, I told you I was going to have a belt. Now I got a belt. There's no rematches. We're the face of Collision. Like, I don't mind this. I just don't know who eventually you have it take it off them. But I agree, like, at this point it doesn't need to be the Bucks, but don't forget the Bucks do hold a match because they won that 4-way. So eventually I think we'll get to the Bucks getting the belts back maybe like one more time. So we'll see what happens. As far as Nick Wayne, I don't mind the reasoning. I agree with you, Joe. It is very reminiscent of AR Fox, but at the same time, logically, it's fine for him to want to side with Christian Cage. And I think it's good for Nick Wayne to be with Christian Cage. It's a high profile angle right now, obviously, with Christian and Edge, Adam Copeland. So I'm okay with Nick Wayne being involved with that. And there's so much going on with all of, like what we saw end everything tonight. There's the Darby thing that he's involved with. There's the Adam Copeland, angle. So I don't mind it, and I think it makes perfect sense to what they're trying to do right now. So I don't necessarily have a problem with it. The other thing that I actually wanted to just bring up is the Eddie Kingston Commander match. I thought it was a perfectly fine match. But if Eddie's going to be this fighting champion, right? Do we need to give him some real competition at some point?
Agreed. I think this was more just like I think you're gonna, if they do it right, you have some of these guaranteed wins, and then you throw in like our reals, like a Dalton Castle, someone who you could actually see, even though what people might not think, there is a surprise chance he could win. So you got to start throwing them in, and then you build up to like, this is the guy, and I don't know who that's going to be, but you know what I'm saying, like that. You have layers, no chance, might pull off a surprise victory, really could, probably who they're building to. And if they layer that properly, it's a lot of fun. The problem is, a lot of times what they do is just give us the nobodies.
Right, and that's
not the nobodies, but no shots. Sorry, let me rephrase that. The no shots.
Sure. And I do want to be clear. I'm not saying that Eddie's just getting a bunch of nobodies, quote unquote, right? But I'm asking that question for that exact reason, Ryan, because we've seen it happen before where it's just they're just throwing bodies at somebody, but they're of no value. You really, and that's again, I know how that sounds because it makes it sound like Commander's a nobody with no value. I like Commander a lot. He does a lot of really cool stuff in the ring, and he's good at it. But that's why I ask Ryan, because we've seen this happen before, and I don't want to see Eddie get stuck in that where it's just like a body to fill some time. Like, I think we need to get him some contenders, and I'm with you. If they do it right, I think it's going to be a good run. My initial thought,
you need to, like I said,
yeah,
a couple guys. You need to have guys in there, and Dalton Castle's name, but Shane Taylor. There's a few of them who, and I'm going ROH heavy. I'm trying to, because in my hope, I hope they go to ROH. But you build in a couple guys who you're like, you know what? They might let this go this route. If you mix them in with your Commanders and your Matt Seidels, and you have a shot. If all it goes from is Matt Seidel or Commander to Claudio, what are we doing?
Right. Well, I think personally, and you guys obviously tell me if you think it doesn't sound like it makes sense, but I think eventually it's going to lead to Mark Briscoe taking that belt off Eddie.
That would be the fun way to go about it. I'd be okay with that.
The question is, will it be on an ROH program?
No.
Well, okay. It would have to be on one of their pay-per-views at the end of this year, maybe like Final Battle or something like that. But I don't know how close Mark Briscoe is. You know what I mean? Like, I think I heard that he's training to return, but that could be he's training, but he's not going to be good for like another, 3-4 months. It could be he's training and he's like a month away. I think either way, it's got to be Mark Briscoe. I feel like that it was supposed to be Mark Briscoe already. But because of the injuries, they pivoted to everything else they've done. So I think it's going to be Mark Briscoe, but it, to the point is, will it be on a Ring of Honor show? If it's not on a Ring of Honor pay-per-view, then I think it's a big disservice. I don't know. You guys think it's anybody else stands a chance?
Not at the moment.
Yeah. It would be fun though to see Dalton Castle. It would be I mean, not even win, but just have a good showing. Dalton Castle would be a good one. I agree Shane Taylor could be a good one, but Shane Taylor's sort of like locked in with Keith Lee, right? So maybe not immediately. Maybe if they need to, they could slide that in, but who knows? Anybody have anything else they want to talk about from Collision?
I really liked the Danielson Fletcher match. I thought it really highlighted Fletcher as a singles guy and showed off a lot of his technical skills against Danielson. I liked how he snapped the Dragon Sleepers on Brian. I think that's one of the moves I enjoyed watching the most, when he just cranked back on him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it was really good to like build him up even in a loss, while Mark Davis is out in injury, to make him feel important still.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that Mark Davis got hurt. He had been hurt, and obviously he's been back for a little bit, but now he got hurt again. It's unfortunate, and I do feel bad for Kyle Fletcher because obviously it cools him off a little bit. But to your point, Joe, I think Kyle Fletcher could be like a standalone, single star. I think almost like the same way we felt, some of us had felt about Dante Martin when Darius was hurt. Like, wow, we're going to see a lot of cool shit that this guy can do. But at the same time, it's like, I don't want to see them break these tag teams up. You know what I mean? Because I think these tag teams are so good. Which also begs the question is, wonder what Dante Martin's status is right now. He's been out for a while.
I do not know.
But yeah, that was a good match, Joe. I had no all. A little tune-up for Danielson going into tonight. So if neither of you guys have any closing remarks on Collision, we could probably move on to a short break, because as Ryan said, he needs some time to get a drink, blah, blah, blah. He didn't have time between the end of Dynamite and this show to grab a drink or a snack or maybe take a pee. So, Ryan, why don't we hear from some of the other shows that are part of the Shining Wizards Network while you grab a drink, some chicken tenders like it's a women match, whatever you got to do. And then we'll be right back to discuss Title Tuesday here on a special episode of the Mark Order Podcast.
We'd like to thank each and every one of you for tuning in every Monday night to listen to the Shining Wizards. If you'd like to continue to support us outside of listening, we've got a few ways for you to do that. If you shop at Amazon, go over to amazon.shiningwizards.com, do your shopping as usual, and when you make your purchase, a little bit of that purchase price will go back to support the show. If you like to wear t-shirts, merch.shiningwizards.com will take you to our Pro Wrestling Tees store, where we've got over a dozen great designs from over 11 years of professional wrestling podcasting. You can become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/wizardspodcast, where each and every week we call out your name as one of our show producers, and the more you support us, the more things that you're entitled to receive, and believe me, they are fantastic. If you can't support us monetarily, if you don't shop at Amazon, that's absolutely fine. Continue to listen to us wherever you listen to us on the World Wide Web, and make sure you like, rate, review, subscribe, do all that good stuff. It doesn't cost you anything, helps us out, and we can continue to bring you the love fest that is the Shining Wizards.
What's up, folks? It's your boy, the Impact Player, Mr. Philly Ray, inviting all of you to check out the Turnbuckle Throwbacks Wrestling Podcast. Join us as we cover all things current in the world of pro wrestling, as well as paying homage to the old school, the Squared Circle. So listen in and find out why we are the recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment broadcasting. Find us on all social media platforms and anywhere you get your podcast from. And as always, we are the proudest members of the Shining Wizards Network and Rant Entertainment Media.
Are you tired of being lied to every day by the mainstream media?
Do you want to know what's really going on in the world?
Do you want to make up your own mind about things, not be told what to think or say?
Then listen to Inconclusive Breakdown, a weekly anti-PC look at the world of entertainment and current events, brought to you without censorship or filters.
You can find us everywhere you listen to podcasts, BitChute, and on ShiningWizardsNetwork.com.
And also, we're a proud member of the Shining Wizards Network.
Got 30 minutes to kill? Come check out 30 Screams or Less, where we review a horror movie in 30 minutes or less. We cover new movies and old ones too.
We'll give our honest thoughts on the movie, good or shit, as well as a rating of each one that we watch.
New episodes weekly, available on the Shining Wizards Network and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Corey.
Come check us out at 30 Screams or Less.
G'day guys, my name is Thomas, one half of the Broadcast Podcast. With our podcast, we go back and watch wrestling events from WWE, WWF, WCW, ECW, AEW, and many other wrestling promotions. You can check us out on Twitter at The Broadcast, that's TheBrokast, and you can also download all episodes on Apple Podcasts, Castbox, Castro, and many other podcast apps.
You like your music heavy? Then check out Radioactive Metal on the Shining Wizards Network. For over 16 years now, Radioactive Metal has been one of the longest running podcasts. Over the years, we've interviewed some legendary metal acts, had some awesome discussions, and cranked a hell of a lot of tunes. So join your cool Uncle Snowy and his co-host Aaron for the audio mosh pit that is Radioactive Metal here on the Shining Wizards Network. What's up, everyone? When on the Shining Wizards Network, be sure to check out Wrestling Night in Canada. If we're not recording another kick-ass podcast,
Or playing in punk bands.
Or recording kick-ass heavy metal albums,
then we're sitting back, we're grabbing a couple brews, and going over everything to do in the world of pro wrestling.
because we're from Winnipeg, you idiots.
The Mark Order Podcast is the only show you need if you're looking for dedicated coverage of everything AEW on the Shining Wizards Network. Join us live on YouTube every Wednesday night at 10:15 p.m. Eastern after Dynamite to chat along with the show. If you can't join us live, listen to us on your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on all social channels at MarkOrderPod and use the hashtag #JoinTheMarkOrder, because if you don't find us,
We will find you.
I'm Kevin Rowe.
I'm Al Day.
And we're a couple of down under pounders that co-host Rogue Day Tots, an action figure collecting podcast where we talk about, well, just about anything that tickles our fancy at any given moment.
We're grumpy old men, and sometimes people get on our nerves. And if you get on our nerves, guess what? You get off the lawn.
We also go on a bit of a mission. We go back and we're grading every wrestling figure line that's out there. I'm talking LJNs. I'm talking Jacks. I'm talking Hasbros. Who doesn't like a little Hulkaplex? It's a Gorilla Brain Wrestling podcast production found on the Shining Wizards Network.
I'm Duke Bags.
Kevin Rowe.
And together we are the co-hosts of Your Duke Road. If you want to hear about some terrible wrestling shows, we got you covered.
What we talk about, good ones.
We're currently talking about the death of WCW.
I know what we're fucking talking about. Sometimes we get guest spots, like from the Taskmaster. I like to listen to the Your Duke and Rogue podcast. They're funny guys. That I like when they talk about the Nards plows. I like Nards plows. That's a good move. And I like the Dungeon of Doom. You know, sometimes I call my butt the Dungeon of Doom. Thanks, guys.
Oklahoma.
Let me tell you a little bit about my favorite wrestling podcast. All right. It's a podcast for two men, Duke Bags, Kevin Rowe. They talk about professional wrestling. It's a man's sport. All right? And who better to talk about a man's sport than Duke? Oklahoma.
And once in a while, Vince Russo stops by.
Oh, you piece of shit. If you're not listening to your Duke and Rowe podcast in the back with the boys, you piece of shit, I don't know what you're doing. It's, you got to slide one in there. If you're a man, you're talking about something only a man can talk about slide one in there. Bro, take the time to slide one in there. All right, bro, you piece of shit. Slide one in there. A Gorilla Brain Wrestling podcast production that you can find on the Shining Wizards Network.
All right, we're back on the Mark Order podcast, a special Title Tuesday edition of the Mark Order Pod. And let's see. Oh, follow us at Mark Order Pod on all our socials, X, Instagram, Facebook, and make sure that you subscribe on YouTube. Ryan is really pushing to get that YouTube up, and we would love for you to subscribe to our YouTube.
Do it now.
Ryan, do you have anything fun to say? You know, like some other people might be like, oh, get this, support these people. Like, if you don't sign up for our YouTube, do you like alienate?
If you don't sign up for our YouTube, you're fatophobic. And I really do not appreciate that. As I represent the hefty men of America, you should support us by subscribing to our YouTube.
Okay. Support the hefty American males.
Well, does the offer still stand of what we offered last week if we hit 500 subscribers?
I mean, I haven't heard no.
She did not fight it.
He guarantee you didn't even go back and listen. So no objections if you ask me. So we get that thing to 500. I think number 500 gets a date, right?
Yeah. It's a date with Kate.
A date with Kate. You could take her out to a nice seafood dinner and never call her back. You know, the other thing I'm going to remind people of is that you can support us and show that you love our show by heading over to our Pro Wrestling Tee store to pick up one of our t-shirts. That's right, folks. Head over to our social profiles to the link tree and click a direct link over to our Mark Order podcast store on Pro Wrestling Tees, or you can go to prowrestlingtees.com/markorderpod. Or if you're already there searching for some other stuff, which we encourage you to do, make sure you just search for the Mark Order podcast and our store will pop right up. We've got 4 shirts up for sale, 2 front prints, 2 double-sided prints. My personal favorite, the 2 mics, the double-sided with the chest logo and then the full back print. That's my favorite. I suggest you pick up one of those. And some people might say if you don't buy one, then you don't support women. I would say this. If you do buy one, you definitely support women, but maybe you don't support women. That's fine. I think we're here for everybody, right? Mark Order Podcast doesn't kink shame. You want to support women? That's cool. Buy a shirt. You don't want to support women? That's cool. Buy a shirt. 3 of us are guys. So, pick up a shirt. The money comes back to help us put on this wonderful podcast and pay for all the things that we have to pay for to do something like this. So, how could I not have watched? Hi, Jesse Ozak. Good to see you out there. Welcome to the chat. Good to see you on a Tuesday, a day early. All right, folks. Why don't we get into Dynamite? So, I hope if you're listening to this, you are not a bald asshole and you watched the show. Because it was a show. And they did announce that there was going to be a buy-in match on the YouTube, the X, or some other platform, maybe Twitter. No, that is X. Jesus Christ. The Facebook, the YouTube, whatever. But they had one match, and that was Eddie Kingston versus Minoru Suzuki. And that was a double championship match. It was for the Ring of Honor World and the New Japan Strong Openweight Championships. I don't think, if you've watched enough AEW and you've seen these gentlemen wrestle each other, I think you knew what you were in for, and it lived up to it. A lot of chopping, a lot of slapping, a lot of stuff like that. But when everything came down to the finish, it was Eddie Kingston hitting the Northern Lights bomb to defeat Minoru Suzuki. After the match, Minoru Suzuki and Eddie had a stare down. They both chopped each other, and then they hugged, and Eddie rolled out to give Suzuki the ring to himself. Also enjoyed the fact that he went to the announce desk and said, "Don't be idiots, watch Dynamite." He almost left Taz hanging there, but he gave him a sweaty hug. And then he also went over to the Wrestle Ants who were doing that show. He high-fived Renee and flipped off RJ City. Poor RJ City. Poor RJ. But hey, what are you going to do? You're part of the Wrestle Ants. So, gentlemen, was anybody let down by what we got out of Minoru Suzuki and Eddie Kingston?
No, I wasn't. I felt like we've seen that match before. Just, chop after chop after chop, like you said. My only letdown was that it was a buy-in match, because I feel like if it's a world title match, it should be a little bit more prominent. But that's the only thing I had.
Schlong, any thoughts on this?
It like Joe said, we've seen this before, but it's a good match. It's a hard-hitting, fun affair. It was definitely thrown in at the last minute just to hype up this this competition.
What competition? There's no competition. Let's be serious. No competition. Well, again, Eddie, Minoru Suzuki, check it out. It's on YouTube. Just another fucking hard-hitting match.
The Renee part, I didn't realize that the gang bang was a thing.
What?
Instead of the bang bang gang, she said the gang bang.
Oh my god, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. So I'm like, I had no idea the gang bang was a thing.
I don't know about gang bang, but pretty sure you mix those words around and that's a thing. Interesting. Well, the first half hour of the match, of Dynamite, was commercial free. They announced that too before the show. Maybe because
the first half hour.
What's that?
It wasn't the first half hour.
What was it?
It's like the first 45 minutes.
Well, yeah, they let it go after that, but you were guaranteed for that first 30.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying, like, they really gave him time.
Hey, good for them. But before the buy-in ends, we do get Shivani backstage with Tony Khan, and Moxley wasn't cleared to wrestle tonight, but there is an international title match on the card, and TK didn't know who to put in there, but then Hook and Orange Cassidy roll up. Hook says it's got to be this guy, and TK was on board. So OC, Orange Cassidy, in his usual sort of non-committal, self, tells Tony he doesn't have to do it, and then quickly says, well, he will. I will. So that's it. That was pretty much the buy-in. We get everything we need, and then we are into Dynamite for the night. So Christian Cage is in the control room to start the show. And he's okay with either Danielson or Swerve Strickland winning the number one contenders match tonight. He's mad at Swerve for All In and would love to prove Danielson isn't the best wrestler in the world. But in the main event, his right hand of destruction will put down Adam Copeland, and he might come out to say a little more about last week before that match starts. So we're just setting that up for the rest of the night. And he also says that as the face of TBS and TNT, he secured the first 30 minutes of the show as commercial free. You're welcome. So again, they remind us, stay tuned. But Schlong, to your point, it was really like 45 minutes. So if you ask me, he went above and beyond his facial duties.
He did. He did a good job.
He did great. So our first match of the night was Bryan Danielson versus Swerve Strickland. And this was for the number one contender to the TNT Championship. We get into the match. Eventually, as the match moves on, things start to sort of break down a little bit. Prince Nana tries to get involved, but Hangman Adam Page interferes, and he won't allow that to happen. So we get to the end of the match, and Danielson defeats Swerve Strickland via pinfall with the Busaiku knee to win a shot at the TNT champion Christian Cage. That will happen this upcoming Saturday on Collision at 7 p.m. Last week, I had no idea there was an early start time. I was so angry. Anywho, and not like it mattered either. Called it. So guys,
we saw a slight increase.
Didn't help like they thought it was going to help. Still too much. It's Saturdays in the fall, man. College football, baseball playoffs.
Really, it's WWE having something.
I mean, there's just too much competition, and it's Saturday night in general.
Yeah, but their numbers, like when they shows that when WWE runs against them, they definitely go way down.
I get it. But again, Saturday night, 18 to 20, whatever demographic, they're not in on a Saturday night. And if they are somewhere watching something, it's going to be football, maybe baseball, maybe their other wrestling pay-per-view. Either way, this Saturday will be Christian Cage versus Bryan Danielson. Joe, what did you think of this match?
I liked it because I feel like it was a little bit more technical style from Swerve that we usually see. I felt like early on there's a lot of reversals and grappling compared to a lot of his strikes that he uses with his kicks. And I think they did a good job of protecting him and the distraction loss, and keeps Bryan on a roll going into his match with Christian, and just kind of further pushes up Swerve to being one of the top guys still. So I think it served both guys well.
Schlong, any thoughts on the match? Any problems with the outcome? Anything like that?
No, I mean, I listen. Would have been awesome for Swerve to take this, But they did a good job of trying to protect him. He didn't directly get screwed by Hangman ruining his plans, but it definitely impacted the match, and they're trying to play into that. The match was awesome. I mean, two great wrestlers go back. I think this showed how good, Swerve had the amazing match with Hangman at Wrestle Dream, and now he's had an amazing match with Danielson. I think people are starting to realize that Swerve is the complete and total package, like Lex Luger.
Whoa, that's a package. Yeah, man, Swerve is a star. Great matches out of him recently. And I agree with you. It protects him because Adam Page did get involved. So, it protects him a little bit, but I don't think it derails anything that's going on with him at the moment. So I thought this was a really good match. Always, any chance you get to see Danielson wrestle is always good by me. So good match here. Looking forward to that TNT Championship match Saturday night. So make sure you're tuned in at 7 p.m. We get a video package from Samoa Joe, reminding us that he is still interested in the world title, and he is going to resume his ascension to greatness on Collision this Saturday. So we're going to see Samoa Joe in action on Saturday. Then we get into Chris Jericho and Powerhouse Hobbs. During the match, Don is yelling to hurt Jericho. He's telling Hobbs to hurt him. And my God, was Hobbs hurting Jericho. The spine busters looked insane. And I did really at one point think that Jericho had his bell rung. He looked like he didn't know where the fuck he was. Hobbs is a big boy. But boy, Jericho wasn't going to get out of that one tonight. Hobbs did defeat Chris Jericho via pinfall. After the bell, there was another scoop slam to leave Jericho laying in the middle of the ring. Aubrey Edwards went to check on him. And on the way out with Callis, Hobbs reminded us that anyone can get it. So looks like Hobbs is part of the family. Seems like he's part of the family. Doesn't seem like he's just a hired gun, but who knows? I guess, Schlong, if you have anything to say about Samoa Joe's video, you certainly can. But Chris Jericho and Powerhouse Hobbs, did you think this was going to go this way?
I thought Hobbs would win by cheating, like Callis family comes out as extra. I did not think he would just dominate the crap out of Jericho. So, I mean, it's the way I prefer it to go. I'm not going to complain. I think this is awesome. It really makes Hobbs look like a killer, and he'd been suffering for a little bit. Jericho's Jericho. He can take a loss like this. It's okay. It was awesome. I was really happy the way this went down.
Joe, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, same thing. I was pleasantly surprised by the dominating way they had Hobbs pretty much, maybe not a complete squash, but it damn near close to a squash of Jericho. It reminded me a lot of, just even when, Brock Lesnar just dominated John Cena out of nowhere and just suplexed him over and over again. But instead we got Hobbs, spine bustering Jericho over and over and over again. So yeah, I like it. I think it really makes Hobbs a threat.
Yeah, I'm with you guys here. I didn't think that this was going to go down the way it went down. I mean, it was so dominant out of Hobbs. And I'd rather see that because, to Ryan's point, Hobbs has not been, involved really in anything. This really does make him look like a monster again. And it's okay for Jericho to take a loss like this, right? Jericho's out sort of on an island by himself, with nobody to sort of care for him. Don Callis wants revenge, so he gets it. So I think this went the way it needed to go. Just so shocking how sort of quick it went down, figuring Jericho might sort of battle back a little bit, but not at all. So good for Hobbs. We'll see what's next for him. But what's next for us on the night is a vignette with Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, and the Kingdom. And Cole says he needs to get that surgery that he's been putting off, but Roddy needs Adam to cut his grass. So we see Adam Cole cutting Roddy's grass, even though he says he's injured. And Cole says that he's all done and he wants to get home for a shower since it soaked his shirt. But Strong says he has one for him inside. And they cut inside and he's wearing one of the Next Strong shirts. Of course, Matt Taven introduces him to Rick Strong. That's Roddy's stuffed giraffe. And Cole wanted to know, what the deal was with the giraffe. And Matt Taven reminds him this was their gift to him after he had his surgery. So it's his sort of recovery giraffe. Cole also is wondering why there's no cell service or a TV in the house because he wants to watch Dynamite to see what Max is up to. But the Kingdom says that stuff is a distraction. And Adam says he's got to go. But Roddy, of course, says, Adam, I need one more thing. And we end the video there. Now, my first question sort of in general to you guys, you could simply answer in one word or expand if you'd like, is last week's segment and this week's segment. Did you guys like these segments?
These are hilarious. I think these are great. I mean, you have two guys, well, one guy who's hurt, one guy who's faking, but you have two guys in an injury storyline. And especially with Cole, what are you going to do with him? So this is a great way to keep him focused and on TV and keep advancing a storyline while he's hurt. I love this. I think this is excellent.
Yeah, if you liked MJF and Cole's little vignettes where they hung out and became bros, I mean, you're going to like the Kingdom and Adam Cole. It's it's all the same vein, and it's nice to have some comic relief mixed in.
Yeah, I like these too. And the only reason I ask is because I was going to the gym one night last week and I had on the XM, and on one of the stations I was listening to, they were replaying Busted Open. I just happened to have it on at the minute. And they were talking about the segment from last week because I clearly haven't heard them talk about it this week yet. And honestly, I don't really listen to Busted Open that much besides when I turn on my station and like they're replaying it that night from that morning. I honestly was a little surprised that maybe I shouldn't have been, that Bully Ray and LaGreca both hated that segment. They wish that it had gone a little more like Adam Cole, like sort of like hated being stuck there with Roddy. Like that he wasn't sort of like, ugh, can you believe like I'm stuck here and like playing it like that? I don't like, I get what they're saying, but at the same time, I think these are perfect because like Adam's sort of torn, right? Like he wants to be there for Max, but he also wants to be there for Roddy. Like I think these stories are all going to intersect, but I was just sort of surprised. Like I thought these segments actually were well received. I mean, I know we liked them, but it doesn't seem like anybody else had a real problem.
Well, Tony from the Shining Wizards doesn't like them, so that kind of falls in line with maybe that demographic.
I mean, he also loves Bruno Sammartino in 45-minute bear hug matches.
Again, maybe that falls in line with that demographic of fan.
True. Yeah, I just wanted to pull you guys because, as I heard him talking about that, I was like, I thought these were actually doing pretty well. And I thought we all liked them. So just wanted to see if anybody thought that same way. I mean, I think if they did do something like that, it would fit in, but I don't think it would be as good as what they're doing now. I honestly think what they're doing is really good with these segments. And I think we're going to see something go on between MJF and Roddy, right? I think Adam's going to be stuck in the middle. So we shall see. But we roll on, gentlemen, and we get our international championship match. Ray Phoenix and the fill-in Orange Cassidy, since Jon Moxley was not cleared for tonight. And in a shocking outcome, honestly, for me, Orange Cassidy defeats Ray Phoenix via pinfall to win the international championship for the second time. He's a 2-time international champion. I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I just don't know where we're going with this now. You know what I mean? Like, I think there were clearly plans for something before Mox got hurt. I don't think he's all the way. I really don't think he's really cleared to be back. Maybe he's still got some fuzzy concussion symptoms, right? Where he's not cleared all the way back. Maybe he is, and they're just keeping him off TV. They're letting him get a little break in. But I think the rumored plans before were that we were going to get Moxley versus Shibata for the championship at Wrestle Dream. Couldn't happen. So we've pivoted now. Phoenix held it, and now Orange Cassidy takes it back. But where do we go? Where do we go from here? Is sort of like what I can't really put my finger on. Is Mox just going to take this thing back from Orange Cassidy? Or are we going to completely rewrite the script? Like, that's just what I can't sort of reconcile. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I was thinking about that because it felt like, Phoenix obviously wasn't supposed to win it. And then he had the belt. And he's kind of banged up still, I think, right?
That's what they're saying, the back.
Yeah, so he's like, just someone take this off me so I can, maybe take a little time off. And then, Mox not being cleared tonight, I think I was expecting Mox to just take it off to win it tonight. But having Orange win it is interesting. I don't know if it was always a backup plan in mind when they built all the backstage interviews with him, talking about wanting, a belt and wanting to go after gold again. It just happened to fall in place where he could go back and capture the international title again. But I'll be interested to see if he avenges his loss against Mox, if they give the belt to Mox like he was supposed to have it. So I don't know where they go. I mean, they could go a couple different ways. I think it was interesting to see Orange in the ring tonight be like pretty much all business from the start. There wasn't a lot of his usual shtick. And then after the match, just like, his almost like entranced looking at the belt and, having it mean so much to him and being so much of his identity being tied to it now. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Ryan?
They're making the best of a bad situation. That's what he was supposed to be in some other story right now. I don't know what his was. It's just clear he wasn't supposed to be in this. Mox was supposed to be champ, and that was the story they were telling. I get not wanting to put that belt on someone randomly other than Orange Cassidy right now because you don't have a follow-up story for that person. If you're going to do it, give yourself some time to write on the fly. Or maybe Mox is, like Joe said, maybe Mox is coming back soon and they'll just put it back. Or I think maybe Joe or I don't know which one he said it. They just put it back on Mox as they were supposed to. The only thing I will say is this has actually added another layer to the Orange Cassidy character that's been excellent, which is his love of that belt. He liked being a champion. They've really used that well to show how much it meant to him. So, like Joe was saying, he looked longingly at the belt like, this is mine. So they're really doing the best they can with the situation that sucks. The guy that they wanted is hurt. So the former champ has to step in until they're ready to go.
Do you think him and Hook have a thing going on later on if Orange holds it?
It's tough because I don't see Orange going heel. Is Hook going to go heel?
You don't have to go heel. You do the whole, like, I'll give you a shot.
You could do a babyface match, but it'd be tough to get to. I'm really not sure.
What's interesting is when you look at Orange Cassidy with that run he had with the international title the first time around, if memory serves me correct, when he had that belt and he first had it, he kind of was like, yeah, I don't really like this thing. Like, it's heavy and I got to carry it around and blah, blah, blah. It is interesting to see how he's turned around on it, right? And how he really likes that belt and he wants that belt, right? Like, it's been his mission to get it back. So for me, that's a super interesting part of this whole thing. Cause I think when he first got that belt, he sort of was like in a couple interviews and was kind of like, yeah, this thing's really annoying. Like, I don't really like carrying it around and stuff. And now he can't sort of live without it. So it's super interesting. Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know what's next. And that's sort of the interesting. It's not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, but it's just, where are we going to go? Right. Let's make sure that it stays interesting, because I think this has been a great belt for them. And it's gotten a lot of people sort of involved. So we'll have to see where this is going to go. But Orange Cassidy, you're two-time international champion. Gentlemen, we also get Tony Storm backstage with RJ City, and he wants to know what Tony means by being ready for her close-up. And she says it's film. And of course, like all the best pictures, it's silent. And who needs all that noise? So they play her first film in the picture-in-picture. It's called Lover's Lament. It's part 1. And she's pantomiming stuff. Like at one point she was driving a car. I think she was like listening at people calling to her or something like that. And she was all in her like apartment set. Just amazing stuff, if you ask me, from this Tony Storm character. Like, I just love that she's sort of off the rails all the way in on this character. I don't know what else there is to say. Also, did you guys see the photos that were going around of the scripts that she was handing out last week in the ring with Kiera Hogan?
Yes, they were amazing. Like, they have this whole conversation, and it's all like fancy from like the 20. Oh, it was great.
Yeah, and like all the dialogue is hers. Like it's like 6 lines by Tony Storm, and then like 2 words of response by Kiera Hogan, and then maybe Paul Turner, whoever the referee was. It's just perfect. I love this stuff out of Tony Storm. This has been really, really fun. If you guys don't want to comment on Lover's Lament Part 1, we can move on to our next match, which is Wardlow versus Matt Sydal. 4 power bombs. That's all she wrote. Wardlow defeats Matt Sydal from a referee stoppage, and he's all business, man. He comes to the ring, starts kicking ass, power bombs, and then storms through the crowd to make his way out. No music, no nothing. So maybe we'll pose the question again, because I think we said last week, where are we going with Wardlow, right? Like, what's the direction? He's got no belt in his sights right now. You would think he seemingly could still have an issue with Powerhouse Hobbs, but Hobbs is involved with the family now, and he just beat up Chris Jericho. So I don't know what we're trying to do with Wardlow, but he clearly looks he really looks good. Squashing guys. He looks strong. He looks like a monster. So anybody have any thoughts? Maybe Ryan, any thoughts on where we're going with Wardlow?
I'm trying to think where he could go. That was the pause, because I love what they're doing with him right now. I don't know if they have a story. They probably do, but they haven't indicated what the story will be after this. However, this is a great way to reintroduce him as the killer he once was at a point, and kind of show that his attitude has changed, because he's just beating the hell out of guys. And now I really don't know what the plan is for him after this. I could see him going for the international title. I mean, that would not be a bad thing for him, but they haven't given any indication where he's going. I just like that. I like that he's so obviously aggressive. I think that is a great addition to his character. He's just not bigger. He's just not stronger. He's now aggressive. I think that makes him a much better character for the show.
Joe, what do you think is the direction for Wardlow now?
I get I get heel vibes from him still. Like, I don't know if it's just how he carries himself, his disdain he carries on his face when he goes to the ring, and he wrestles almost like out of annoyance. They have to do this, and he just wants to get it done as quickly as possible. I feel like he could play off a lot of things of him getting passed over or screwed over in the past with championships or matches or not being booked. So I'm getting kind of the heel vibe from him. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know what direction you point him at, though.
Yeah, he's just kind of floating right now. I think we've all talked maybe like, oh, can we somehow get him involved with Miro, right? Like that might be interesting. Him against Miro. Now, has anybody thought about for some reason him teaming up with Miro?
I thought more of CJ being his manager.
Who, Wardlow or Miro?
Wardlow.
That could be interesting. That could be very interesting.
Where is Miro? I feel like it's been a month since we've seen him.
Well, he lost, right? So he's been forsaken again. Wait, no, he didn't lose. He won that match, but then CJ was there, right? So maybe he's thrown off again. I don't know. But I know I do like when we see Miro on TV. So hopefully he's not gone too long. Neither is his hot, flexible wife. But we'll see. Gentlemen, we go backstage to the remarkable Renee Paquette. She's trying to get a word with Jericho as the trainers are checking on him, but Daniel Garcia tries to get an update himself, which brings out Daddy Magic, who's a little pissed off and wants to know what he's doing. And Garcia says he's trying to be a human and check on someone who used to mean a lot to them. But Danny Magic says we're better than this, and he's sort of pissed off. And Daniel Garcia sort of looks on, moves back away, and Renee says she'll get us updates if she can throughout the evening. So interesting. We're sort of seeing Daniel Garcia play that role like maybe Sammy had, right? Before Sammy turned, where he's like, hey, I've been here for Jericho. He's sort of like a ride or die, and he's sort of torn between what to do. Do we want to see Danny Garcia jump right back to Jericho?
Just want to see Danny Garcia in a story, so I'm okay with it.
Okay. Joe, you on board with that?
Yeah, I just want him to get back to being a singles guy and get out of the whole faction thing.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. It seems like maybe he's still going to align himself with Jericho, but who knows? So we'll see what's up next for Danny Garcia. But we move on to our next match of the night. And it's Hangman Adam Page versus the Switchblade, Jay White of not the Card Blade, Switchblade. Sorry, folks. Card Blade was there though. I did enjoy them coming out to on the like adult Power Wheels. That was a lot of fun. So the Bang Bang Gang are all out there. They are sitting by ringside. They cannot get involved. And as this match sort of moves along, Jay White can't get it done. And Prince Nana shows up to hit Hangman with the crown, but Page is ready for it. But what he wasn't ready for was for Jay White to roll him up, get a handful of tights, and get the win. So Jay White and
Bullet Club
get the win here. And
Jay who? You said Jay White, but I didn't know who.
Yeah, does he have
like a lot of Jay Whites out there?
Does he have a nickname?
Butter Knife?
I don't think that's it.
Spork?
No, I don't think it's the Spork.
I don't know what it could be then.
Brian, do you know what it is? What's his nickname?
Floppy disk?
I can't remember. I don't think it's floppy disk though. Oh well. So it'll happen. We'll think of it. But anyway, after the match, Adam Page is hobbling. The story they told through the match was that he was getting his knee worked on, right, by Jay White. He's hobbling after Nana. The Bang Bang Gang is celebrating, and Maxwell Jacob Friedman comes out because he wants his belt back. And Jay White doesn't want to hear from MJF. He wants to hear from Jay. And they go back and forth with Max saying that he understands because, he'd do the same thing that Jay White is, but now he's trying to be a better man, and that's not easy, but it's worth it. And he wants White to do the right thing and give him back the Triple B, which means the world to him, and that Jay hasn't earned. And Juice says that, Juice thinks it's really funny, and Switch says he appreciates that he asked this time rather than jumping him in his little devil mask. But they do have a match on November 18th, and if MJF wins that, then he can have it. Or he could just come to the ring and get it right now, but Max won't do that. If he can find 3 people who can stand by him, then they can have an 8-man tag match, and then if he wins, maybe he can have his belt back. And then Juice gets on the mic, calling the champ by his last name, and revealing that there's going to be a Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal next week, and that he's going to win and then get the ring that MJF loves to take everything for him. And then he also reveals a roll of quarters with the name Friedman written on it, and says that after he knocks him out with those things, he's going to, and MJF cuts him off. He's incensed. And he threatens him not to come near him with the quarters. And he's obviously upset at his history, which they explain from the commentary desk. He says when he was a child, there was some anti-Semitic bullying where people would throw him quarters and tell him to get him, Jew boy, and, stuff like that. So, boy, a lot happening here, right? So Jay White gets the win. But again, I think almost like the opening match with Danielson, it's a protected loss because Nana's involved. He gets rolled up, tights are grabbed, so it doesn't necessarily hurt the Hangman. And then we've got the stuff of the 8-man tag match, so I think we all knew where that was going to go. We'll touch on that through the night. But also, the roll of quarters was something I didn't see coming. Now, obviously, we have seen Juice use the quarters to load up his fist and knock somebody out. But he has not thrown them at him and said to pick them up or something like that. I was a little surprised that they went that far, to be honest. Just seemed maybe not the best thing to be doing at this point in time with everything going on in the world. In Israel, in the Middle East. But, yeah, what did we think about all of this? Ryan, let's go to you first.
So most of the promo I loved. I liked what MJF was saying. I thought he came off more authentic. He wasn't using cheesy lines. I thought it was really good. I like Jay White's response. Jay White is definitely the lower of skill on the mic than MJF is. The roll quarters line is one that it's got a interesting reaction online. This is one where I guess me personally take a second to step out because it's not something that would be offensive to me. So meaning that's not a stereotype I've ever had to deal with. That's MJF has clearly made it part of his character. I would also say the only thing I want to point out is everybody's talking about the timing of everything in the world, and I really agree with that. Last week, I think there was a sign. Last week or so, there was a sign in the crowd with somebody saying "I dropped a quarter" or something. MJF. It was maybe a week or two ago.
Yeah,
and now they're bringing this up. It almost feels like they want to. This is their intention to respond to that. I mean, because they didn't just say it and let it sit. Announcement brought up how he was bullied about it. Renee mentioned it again. I think they're trying. I could be wrong because obviously I'm not in the back, but it reads as they're trying to address this situation through wrestling. The problem is, it's twofold. One, everyone's saying that Max must have signed off on it. I don't think he just signed off on it. I think it was probably his idea.
Sure.
I don't think you do this. I don't think anyone else comes up with this. Besides him. Wrestling's weird. Wrestling fans and wrestling just not the place for stories like this often because, in my opinion, it's two reasons. One, the people who play the character get so tied in with the character, and bad guys become good guys. So, well, that's actually different points. One, people who play the character get tied in with the character. So you make someone look like anti-Semitic, it makes the person look bad. Two characters flip back and forth between good and bad, and we're supposed to just forget the bad they've done. So we're supposed to forget that, Juice is anti-Semitic with this remark. Like you're like that will be down the road, and I don't think people like that. I don't think that hits well. The third thing is wrestling's so ridiculous it almost can't handle things like this. You have such ridiculous storylines most of the time that a super serious one like this, it just doesn't fit in. It stands out in a really weird and unique way. It's the same reason you can't really do race or sexual orientation or anything like that because it's never going to land. And I think the intention was better than people are giving them credit for. I think they want to make a point in solidarity and being like, this is wrong. I just don't think people want to hear it. I don't think it's not that they don't want to hear the point, that they don't want it to come from wrestling. That's just where I'm coming from on it.
Sure. And Joe, I do want your thoughts, but I do want to say this. Up until he made the statement about, what he was going to do with the quarters, essentially maybe tossing them, I was sort of on board with what I thought he was going to say because he's done the quarters thing before, right? We've seen him go into his pocket and punch somebody in the face and the quarters go flying. And that's really where I thought it was going to go, right? And it was going to stop there because he's done it before. But then he went another step, and that's where I was like, oh, I'm with you, Ryan. I think that doesn't make it in unless MJF has sort of signed off on it or even said, I want you to do this. But man, a little hard to sell right now, like I said, with what is recently just happened over the last 72 hours in Israel between the Israelis and Hamas. Like it is definitely something that I would have been like, if it was planned, you say, let's just nix that right now. It just is a little tone deaf. That's my take on it. Joe, what are your thoughts on the match, on the promo, anything you'd like?
The match itself was, what I would expect from Heyman and Push Button Jay White. It's Push Button, right? Push Button.
No, that's not it, because that's not the sound it usually makes.
It's not Renee Jay White.
Well, no, but it's.
I am so confused with that now.
Me too. I'm lost.
None of these buttons are the right sound, so it can't be it. Sorry.
No, the match is fine. It reminded me of some of their matches from if you've gone back and watched the matches of their New Japan matches when they faced each other, you knew what you're kind of going to get from the two of them. I thought the ending was fine with Nana coming in and helping cost Heyman the match. Heyman got involved in Swerve's match, so he deserves it. I get it. The promo was interesting. It's interesting to see Max play the uber face in this situation where talking about earning the fans' respect, and we all know that he wants people to like him and he wants the attention. But really playing up to earning the fans' respect and respecting the fans. That's been interesting to get used to. The juice part of the promo, like you, I didn't initially think about the quarters from MJF's history right away. I initially thought of, I'm going to knock you out with the roll of quarters like I do everyone else, and it has your name on it. So I'm going to that's how I'm going to finish you. He's calling his shot like MJF would call his shot. But then I thought, oh, well, wait a minute. thinking about before then MJF went off, and then thought, yeah, we probably didn't need that part in this promo to make it personal. You've already talked about taking away the diamond ring from him and how much that has meant to him and how many matches and titles he's won with that. So I don't think you need to have the quarter part interpreted any way in promo. And or maybe, if commentary were maybe just like left it alone and just not explain the fact of the bullying part. I did notice that they kind of got away from the full explanation of the bullying. They didn't necessarily say. I don't think they necessarily talked about him, like the Jewish part of it, as much as they said bullying.
Right.
So, but yeah, I probably would have scrapped it, and then if not scrapped it, just not have followed up on it as much.
Yeah, it just is a weird thing to insert here. And again, the timing of everything and what's going on in the real world is sort of what makes this whole thing a little tougher to swallow. It's already not great, sort of pulling it back up. But yeah, I mean, the reactions are not great on social, so we'll see if they decide to sort of scrap that angle. But we will get a Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal, so that news came out, and we'll see if Juice can make his way to the end to take that ring from MJF. So we'll see.
Also, the whole idea of Jay being able to just like keep his belt, MJF's belt, like just property is nonsensical law doesn't make sense to me. And the fact that he's like, you haven't earned the right to get the belt you won back.
Yeah,
I'm just confused. I don't like the whole like I steal your title, so I'm gonna walk around like I'm your champion.
Well, yeah, I mean, I always feel that way. Like even when Jade had her TBS title stolen by Nyla, I'm like, there's no authority figure here that can go to you and be like, hey, it's not yours. I'm taking that back. And, whatever. Like it doesn't make sense. So I don't know. We'll see. But let's move on because we have other stuff to talk about and we'll see that sort of turn up again. But we do, before we head to commercial, find out we're going to get the second part of Tony Storm's Lover's Lament film. So we get that in picture, another silent film. Again, fantastic stuff out of Tony Storm. And then we move on into our women's match of the night. Saraya defending her AEW Women's World Championship against Hikaru Shida. I think that's the name. And so during this match, we see some hijinks ensue. We know that Ruby Soho. What is going on? Ruby
Riot
Soho.
Edge.
Oof. My God, I know. I'm all over the page. See, I was going to say page, and then Ruby Soho comes out masked to try to get involved and spray paint Shida in the face, but she gets stopped, and her mask gets taken off, and Shida sprays her in the face, and that brings out Timeless Tony Storm to come out and throw a shoe at Ruby and start beating her with her shoes, and she basically runs her off. And it's more back and forth in the ring. Towards the end, Saraya pulls her own spray paint can out of her tights, which also I said to Mrs. Money sitting on the couch, I said, my goodness, she wrestled this whole match with that thing in her tights. Good for her. But she sprays Shida in the face. 1-2 count. Did not get the win. I also always think it's interesting that the referee can then look at her face, see that there's green paint on it, and think, well, nothing happened. Like, how did that happen? I guess she's always had a green face. I never noticed. So, eventually, getting to the end here, Shida defeats Saraya via pinfall. After a series of roll-through pin attempts to win the Women's World Championship for the third time. Gentlemen, I've been very clear on my stance with Shida. I goddamn hate this. I don't fucking understand this. Here's really why. Why does Shida need to be a 3-time champion? You have other women you can put in a situation to elevate them. And I understand there's going to be a whole thing going on now with Toni Storm and Ruby and Saraya too, probably. This whole thing's going to implode. Like, I get it. But why Shida? There are other people we can get involved. I just don't understand.
I can explain to you exactly why. And it comes from the inside of this noggin right here.
Oh God.
No, it's actually, I think
noggin.
this is going to be, I think, a valid point. And you may not like it, but I still think it's a valid point. I don't think Shida was intended to ever lose until they realized what a great moment it would have been for Saraya at Wembley. I really think Shida was supposed to have held the championship for when she won it the second time through now. And somewhere along the line, someone got it in their head. Oh, it'd be so cool if Saraya won at Wembley. And they gave it to her and then realized all the stories they had planned out after that were built for Shida.
I don't agree with that.
Why? I mean, it seems pretty. Shida's champ, loses it quickly to Saraya. Saraya barely defends it and loses it right back to Shida. It seems like a pretty obvious was supposed to be Shida's all along.
I don't think Saraya was supposed to hold it very long. I get that. I'm with you there with her winning, having her moment in London. I just didn't think you were going to go back to Shida that quickly. I thought it was going to be going to someone else. I didn't get it.
I just want to be clear. I did not want or need Saraya to hold this belt for like 6 months. You know what I mean? I didn't even need her to hold it for like 6 weeks. Exactly what was going to happen in Wembley was exactly what I thought. She's got to win. She can't go into Wembley and not win. Right? So that happened. But it didn't have to be Shida going back right to getting this title. I just don't understand why it couldn't have somehow been somebody else. Just elevate somebody else.
Ooh. Who did they build up quick enough that they could take it right away?
But that's the fucking problem with what they're doing. They can only handle 2 stories at once, and that's a problem.
I have a feeling it's going to end up back with Britt due to
and that's another goddamn
Shida and Britt's issues.
Like I said, I think this was never supposed to, I think they planned a longer reign for Shida, realized Wembley fell in the middle of it, not even in the middle, soon after it, and said, we'll give Saraya her moment, but it's going to go right back to Shida.
But to play devil's advocate on Ant's side, the whole giving Shida the belt back randomly, I felt like you're the champion back during the pandemic period, so now we're going to give you the belt back now and have your proper reign. I don't know if that made sense at the time for a long time.
I don't think any of it is great. I don't think it makes sense to give someone the belt to have them lose it right away for a moment. I think that's stupid, but that's what this feels like. You see it all the time where this person is supposed to be who our champion is, so lose it and win it right back. But we'll give you that night. That night will be yours.
But then why even take the belt off of Saraya tonight?
Because they had whatever they had planned, it was going to be Shida's plan. And
okay, so what's next for Shida? Britt Baker?
I don't even think Britt Baker's next. I don't know what is next. Honestly, I don't. What I'm saying is I don't think they have a great plan. But whatever it is, it seemed like it was Shida's.
It just, none of this makes sense. None of this. Sheeta essentially for her second title win comes out of fucking nowhere and gets the belt back. Now we're talking a third time, essentially out of nowhere, to just get a title shot and then win it. What was this? A rematch clause? They didn't even really explain that.
The true crime is that Ruby hasn't held it yet.
They could have figured it out a way for Saraya to hold this just a little while longer. Again, not like 6 months, not even 6 weeks. Just have Saraya win tonight. Something happened to come out of it. Either a new talent gets elevated or something happens with Ruby and now you're on to Ruby and Saraya and Ruby can get a shot at this belt. Like, there are other ways they could have gone than just going straight back to Sheeta.
Yeah, I initially thought Tony was going to win it off of Saraya, but in hindsight, her not getting it back turned out for the best for us.
Sure. And that's fine because now they have something to do with her. But the matter of fact is that you only have like 5 women right now that are invested in something with any sort of picture, right? And I actually didn't even count Chris Statlander because where the fuck has she been lately? I thought that was a workhorse title. So where's she been? But you're talking about Tony, Ruby, Saraya, who've essentially been part of this picture, right? So you have to count all 3 of them. Oh my God. Julia Hart has been heavily featured in a number of things. She could be a fourth person who's doing something. And for some reason, they cooled way off on Willow on AEW TV. So I wouldn't even count Willow in this. But like, again, what are we doing? Again, they give you little glimpses of stuff. And then it's all of a sudden like, what are we doing? Like, why right now back to Sheeta? What are we lining up for that it couldn't have been Saraya to hold that belt to get it to the next true champion? It's so haphazard. It's annoying.
It's not great booking. I'm not defending it. I'm just telling you what it feels like to me. Is that they never intended Saraya to have it, but they wanted to give her the moment.
I don't know. 1LT Photo makes a great point in the chat here too. Willow won the Owen. Nothing has come from it.
Nope.
Hard to disagree with that, 1LT. Hard to disagree. It's just the thing that we always go back to with this women's division is they show you these stories and you get all your hopes up, like they're doing something right. They're going to build on this. And then nope. It's just a complete flush down the toilet. Like what are we resetting to now? That's, you know what I mean? Like that's the most frustrating thing. It's like they literally just hit the reset button. They're like, nope, just put it back on Sheeta. Okay. So what now? All this talk too about Mercedes Moné. Now maybe she's not as close as they thought. So they can't do anything. So it doesn't make sense for Saraya to hold the belt and maybe get Mercedes and Saraya, fine. But if Mercedes is close enough, are we looking at Mercedes Sheeta? To me, that doesn't do anything for me. There's nothing there. They'd have to build that.
Jesse Ozad does mention
agree.
Rosa.
What's that?
Jesse Ozad did mention Thunder Rosa as getting closer to coming back.
I mean, that's true, but there's still never been a definitive statement on what was wrong with her and how long it would take for her to come back. It's just been a very, very slow comeback for Thunder Rosa. It's just really hard to see what the fuck they're doing. But anyway, we move on. We do get informed that Chris Jericho is headed to the hospital to have internal injuries checked out from his match with Will Hobbs. They also announced at the announcer's desk that AEW will be donating over $1 million in toys to Toys for Tots during the holiday season. And then we get brought back to Don Callis with Konosuke Takeshita. And there he's not happy. He was told he had 10 minutes to talk, but they don't have it, so they do Sammy Guevara's, sign gimmick in the picture in picture. And basically all it says is Sammy will be back, you're going to pay for what you did to Sammy, and that the Don Callis family's here for revenge. So it's not over with Kenny. It's clearly probably not over with Jericho either. So we'll see where we go from here. Anybody want to add anything on any of that stuff? Shaking heads, no. So we're going to move on. We do get MJF backstage with the ravishing Renee Paquette, who asks about Jay White's words and what you said. And MJF tells her calmly that he's not in the mood for an interview. He just wants to call his buddy and get some advice. So he calls Adam Cole, and he says that he wants some advice for dealing with the Switchblade, Joe, Samoa Joe, and some of the other old wounds that Juice Robinson brought back up. But the reception is so bad at Roddy's that he can't hear Max and they get disconnected. So Max is a little upset. You could tell he's not feeling good. And that's when the Acclaimed roll up. And Max Caster's acting like a giddy schoolgirl and offers his services of the Acclaimed to help him beat the Bullet Club and get his belt back. But MJF can't really deal with it and walks off. So Billy Gunn and Bowens want to know what that was all about, because, all of a sudden he's offering up their services, and they also want to know what his infatuation is with MJF. And Caster does explain that they started wrestling together, and he's friends with Max, and Max really needs friends, but he also really likes it when Max plays hard to get. And then they sort of walk off. So this infatuation, this stalker vibe from Max Caster, Max and Max. It's some Max on Max action, actually. Continues, but this is exactly where I thought was going to go, right? Max would have to get some help from the Acclaimed in an 8-man tag match. So who knows? Maybe it'll happen. Maybe not. But anybody have thoughts on MJF not being able to get in touch with Adam Cole and the Acclaimed, the whole Acclaimed gimmick? Ryan, anything?
Not being able to get a hold of Adam Cole. Just another layer to the story that I'm very much enjoying. The Acclaim thing. Listen, if the Acclaim didn't have the belts, I think this would be great. Not thrilled that they have belts and this is what they're doing.
Hard to disagree. Joe, anything to add?
Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm wondering if we could get to a Max and the Acclaim versus Adam and the Kingdom. Eventually, not obviously months down the road, but
sure.
Yeah, it's weird to have the Max and Max thing going on. It's just like a weird insider type of joke that we're trying to make more widely known.
Yeah, I had no idea about any of that until I think I asked about it last week, and then I went and did a little bit of Googling on my own. So, but it is true, they did come up together wrestling, so they do know each other, and this is just what they do. So we'll see what happens. But now we're into our main event of the evening, and Christian Cage makes his way to the ring with Luchasaurus. He takes some shots at Kansas City about the Chiefs, and he says that a lot of people, he got a lot of people talking last week with the remarks he made to the Rated R Superstar, his 3 words, leaving Adam Copeland with that slack-jawed look he's had so many times in his life. By the way, gentlemen, if you haven't seen it on YouTube, they have it uncut. It's amazing when he just goes, "Go fuck yourself." Which also, guys, means that we have to clip it and put it on a soundboard. Because it's available. So don't make me forget to do that. Anywho, thank you. He says he didn't like it when Copeland said Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne would take information in his head and leave him. And unlike Copeland, he didn't take some people and dress them up like Halloween and convince them they're tough guys. That's a shot at the Judgment Day. Or maybe the Brood. That group turned on Copeland. and it wouldn't happen with him. Though, for Wayne and Luchasaurus, he's not their leader; he's their father. He also thought it was funny that when Copeland pitched finishing their careers together with dream matches, because when he was being disrespected and underused in the past, Copeland didn't turn down his push for singles for tag team dream matches. And there were no mentions of Adam Copeland's father, but Christian did go on to say that he knows his wife Beth Phoenix is a fan. So he told Beth to put some clean sheets on the bed because girls, referencing Copeland's daughters, your new daddy's coming home. And that brings out a pissed off Rated R superstar, Adam Copeland, charging to the ring. Of course, Christian Cage bails. Luchasaurus is able to step in the way. But Nick Wayne followed Copeland to the ring, grabs his boot, and Luchasaurus is able to get a little bit of a jump here. Remsburg does come down, check Copeland, who insists that he wants to go, and now the match is official. So Adam Copeland versus Luchasaurus in his first official match in AEW spends a lot of time getting beaten the fuck down, but eventually Adam Copeland does defeat Luchasaurus via pinfall. And after the match, Wayne hits a chop block on Adam Copeland. The heels are able to gang up until Bryan Danielson, who's the number one contender to TNT title, makes the save. The rest of the BCC club come out because now the numbers are too much, but that brings out the Mogul Embassy. And Hangman Page is here to brawl with Swerve Strickland. Copeland is able to lay out Wayne with a spear. And we do see Christian tapping out to the label lock by Bryan Danielson, maybe foreshadowing Saturday night. That is the end of the show. We go to the end of the show with some brawling amongst all the teams. So, Joe, what did you think about the pre-match promo, Daddy's Coming Home, as well as the match and the aftermath?
Hey, Christian just wants to be everyone's daddy. I mean, he wants to be the father figure that everyone needs in their life, whether you have one or not already. He made some good points. I mean, Adam Copeland wasn't running through Christian to help get him back into tag wrestling when he was cleared. The match itself, I thought, was very much reminding me of a guy named Edge in a different promotion. It felt like one of those matches. But it was a good, tune-up match for his first match with Luchasaurus. It hit all the right notes, and the ending was similar. The ending was very Game War-ish. We had like 5 different storylines all mending together. But yeah, it was just, I think there's a fine use of the overrun.
Okay, Schlong, thoughts on the entirety of the final segment?
Who's your daddy and what does he do? Christian's amazing. He's just operating on a totally different level right now. Adam Copeland, good first match in AEW. Obviously a little bit different style than what he'd have to wrestle in WWE, so interested to see how he adapts long term. But it was a fun match. I really liked the shenanigans and the back and forth. And the end was just nuts. And we haven't had a good Gang Wars finish in a long time, so I was very pleased to see this happen. This felt like 2 years ago Dynamite.
Yeah. And the great thing is that this all made sense with all the stories that are running together, right? So it wasn't just like haphazard, sort of like gang warfare happening. Like, Danielson comes out because he's got Cage, and that brings out the BCC, which brings out the Gates of Agony because they've got something going on, with Claudio and Wheeler on Friday night. And Strickland is there with him, and that brings out Adam Page because he got involved at the end of his match, and then, everything sort of levels off. Yeah, it all just, to me, worked, right? And And Joe, to your point about, this looking like an edge match that we would have gotten in the WWE, this also reminds me a little bit of maybe not to the same extent, but it was a little reminiscent of another returning superstar's, first match with this promotion. A little guy called CM Punk. If you remember his first match, it wasn't total domination. He got his ass handed to him a little bit, and he was sort of shaking off the rust, right? So to me, it made sense, right? That he wouldn't be as dominant. Plus, Luchasaurus is a giant man or dinosaur. I can't tell. I think he's half man, half dinosaur.
A manosaur?
He's all dinosaur.
A man bear dinosaur?
He's just a dinosaur, guys. I don't understand how the debate is. He's a dinosaur. That's it.
Okay. Well, he's got human features, so
he's a human-looking dinosaur, but he's we don't know what all the dinosaurs look like.
Could he be a cyborgosaur?
A what?
A cyborgosaur?
Yes, he's a cyborgosaur.
But can we all agree that he wasn't TNT champion?
Oh no, he was.
He was not TNT champion.
Mm-hmm. He was.
Two of us are right.
No. The record books have it right. Even Kevin Kelly would tell you that I'm right. And that's Kevin Kelly. So, gentlemen, Title Tuesday. Definitely had title matches, a lot of title implications. Dare I say more title changing action than Battle of the Belts? I would call that a successful Title Tuesday.
All the Battle of the Belts combined.
Yeah. Yes. One Title Tuesday had more title changes than all of the Battle of the Belts combined, which has one title change. Well, gentlemen, it'll be interesting to see what happens next week. But just a couple of things that happened over the past week. We had mentioned that on Rampage, there was a video promo that Danhausen is coming back soon. And the video was played. You can actually go out there find the video. I very much enjoyed it. I like the song to London Bridge. Very, very, very nice. Very nice. Very nice. So they didn't give any sort of timeline on when he'll be back, but apparently it's very, very, very soon. So are we excited to see Danhausen back in AEW?
I am.
Yes. No, I am. Danhausen's awesome. I was trying to think, could I do a Danhausen voice? I can't. So I'm just gonna say yes, he's awesome. I love his random pop-ups. I hope he actually is on ROH a lot and getting wins there, but he can do random pop-ups in AEW.
What would you put the odds on? Is he going to reappear from under the ring? High odds?
Like higher than you on a cruise ship watching cats. That's high.
I wasn't that high, but I was high.
Well, the odds of Danhausen reappearing from under the ring are higher than that.
Oh, wow. Okay. So money odds, it would be like 2-1?
I think that's fair.
Those are good odds. I mean, it's not like 1-3. Oh, come on, Ryan. You have to have some sort of goddamn vice.
We don't want to know about it.
No.
Gluttony.
No. He answered it with his eyes. Joe, you know it. I know it. Hookers. He didn't say no.
That's a vice now?
Oh, it's always been a vice. My God.
Yeah.
All right, guys. And the last thing I have here is just a note that made its way to socials this week. Apparently, Jade Cargill received a gift in the mail, and she put up some pictures of it. It's a giant box of Kit Kats, and it was sent to her by Eddie Kingston. She goes on to tell the story. She said, this almost brought me to tears. I came home and received a package I was most confused about until I looked at the name. One of the first times I met Eddie Kingston, I was going to town on Kit Kats, and he tore me a new one about how can you look like this, eating like that, and he never let it go. Clearly. One of the realest men I have ever met in this business, and very sweet, just to me. We've had our arguments, but man, did it bring us closer with more understanding. I'm glad we had those moments. I can't tag him here, so you guys go tag him in the comments. Love you, Eddie. See you soon. Thank you so much for my gift. I also know he's going to hate I made it a post. Joke's on you. Look at Eddie Kingston, classy guy, sending out some Kit Kats to Jade Cargill. You think it's a genuine gift, or is he trying to you know, add the calories on so she's looking a little bulky for the cameras?
That's really funny.
Yeah. So if you go out there and find it, it's on our social. She put the picture up. It is literally like a giant, like the one you would get, you know, you go to the store and you take a single Kit Kat out to buy. It's an entire box.
You would take a single Kit Kat out of that?
You know, like if you go to the Wawa, Ryan, and
Yeah.
you're just buying a single package of Kit Kats.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that box is.
That wasn't my question. I said you would just take a single Kit Kat?
I mean, unless there's like a 2 for something sale, sure.
How about the king size one?
You and I are different people.
Yeah, I mean, you and to Joe's point, you always go for the king size, but
we're still different people.
Okay, but you guys noticed, right, that king size candy bars are pretty much the standard size now. So why are we even calling them king size anymore? Let's just make them the regular.
They're still regular size ones.
But nobody's buying them. Let's be serious.
They're about the size of a fun size one. And the fun size ones are about the size of, like, I don't know. They're smaller than what they used to be.
Yeah, for sure. Also, I don't know if you guys noticed, and that's all the news and notes I have, by the way, but I don't know if you guys have noticed. Do you guys know there's a size bigger than king size? I'm being dead serious.
Is it Magnum?
No, I think they call it something like Super King. The only thing I've seen with it is Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. So you have your regular package, which is the 2 cups. Then you've got your King, which is 4 cups. The Super Cups, I think, is either 6 or 8. Super King. They might as well just call it the fuck you size. Like, fuck you, fatty. You know, just buy a bag of these goddamn things. It's comical looking.
I'm gonna have to get that.
They exist. I'm telling you. And Schlong, it's not like 2 rows. They don't make it wider. They just make it longer. They go for length, not girth.
That's a mistake.
I feel like girth is more filling.
Well, you know, girth is definitely more filling.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely, you feel more sensations with the girth.
Well, yeah, it fills you up faster.
Speaking of girth, you guys aware of, this is talk for the first hour. I promise you this is the last thing and then we can go. Were you guys made aware of this show on HBO Max called like Naked Truth or something like that?
I've heard of it.
Okay. Here's your homework. We'll discuss it next week before we start this. HBO Max, excuse me, HBO Max. I believe the show is called The Naked Truth. Joe, it's a dating show from the UK. And the premise is that you pick your date based on their naked body. So you go through rounds. You start with 6 people. You're the person who's the picker. They have 6 people in these basically like phone booths that are frosted over. And they say, okay, let's see the bottom half. And then they raise it up. And if you're a woman picking men, or if you're a man picking men, you see it all, dude. It is cock and balls. They turn around, everything. And then they ask you questions like, what do you think about the size of their, as they say, willies? And then they have the person talk like, oh, I've never seen that before. Oh, too much pubic hair, blah, blah, blah. Oh, that's too intimidating. You know, stuff like that. Same thing. If you're picking a woman, It's everything, man. And they ask you all sorts of questions. It's wild. Then they raise it up to everything right below the head. So you see the upper body. Then, you're cutting the one person out after you see the bottom half, one person after you see the top half. Then they show the faces. Then you cut one more person. So now you're down to 3. Then they get to hear the person speak for the first time. They cut them down to 2. Okay. Now the last part is that the person who's picking, they have to get naked and they come back out. And now you see each other. You see each other naked, and then the person makes the final pick, and then you go on a date, like fully clothed.
Well, that's weird. I feel like you shouldn't go fully clothed on a date. I feel like you should be both naked.
Naked date.
But the whole point is that you've done this in reverse, right? Like usually you would pick somebody fully clothed and you wouldn't see them naked till later. You've sort of done it in reverse. You're seeing them naked and then you're getting to know them. You know what I mean? It's weird. Watch an episode or as many episodes as you like. We should discuss this next week.
Fully clothed or naked, I'd probably still have the same amount of luck. It should be nothing.
I'll just tell you this. Me and Mrs. Money watched the first episode. And there were some people who moved on, and I was just like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't get it. So
people like all people are always someone for someone. I mean,
that's very true. All right. So again, Ryan, Joe, Naked Truth. It's on Max. I guess we'll get the word to Kate. We need impressions on this next week. Okay. I want your honest impressions.
I'll have to sign up for a free trial.
What? You don't have Max?
I don't. I have so many other things that I don't have Max.
Joe.
I'm not living that AntMoney life where I can go on cruises, wear fancy shirts and chains and
a chain guy now. Did I tell you guys my favorite part of the chain is that when I bought it and I was wearing it on the boat, I was walking down the stairs, down this staircase with Mrs. Money. And there's this kid and he's like standing there, he's going up and he's like, whoa, cool chain. I'm like, thanks, man. And I'm walking, we're walking past him and now I'm like 2 steps below him and he's like, hey, is that thing heavy? And I just look back at him and I go, you get used to it. And I just kept walking. Mrs. Money thought it was very funny. She was like, that was very quick. I'm like, it's the truth, man. It's the truth. All right, guys. Naked Truth next week. The listening audience can play along too. If you're here in the chat, we'll be talking about it. So make sure you come in next week within the first hour and let us know what you thought about the Naked Truth on Max. And Joe, we can talk about it. If you need a login, I can help you out. All right, guys, let's do some plugs. Ryan, tell the people where they can find you.
I run our Twitter account, so follow us on Twitter at MarkOrderPod and follow my blog, hereforhistory.com.
That's right. Here for revisionist history. Here for the whitewashing of American revisionist history. What?
One more at a time.
That's right. No, in all seriousness, go read Ryan's history blog. It's not revisionist. It's not whitewashed. It's history. If you're into history, you're going to be into this blog. Ryan,
Thank you, Anthony.
Ryan, I'm not going to lie to you. I checked it out once. That's good enough for me, my man.
Yeah, you're not a history guy. I get it.
I am not a history guy. I am not. That was my least favorite subject in school because everybody would be like, when did this happen in what year and who? And I'm like, fuck if I know. It's been in the past, man. I will look that up if I ever need to recall that information.
Oh, Anthony.
Joe, what do you got to plug?
Oh, you can find me on the socials at _Asian Joe. Usually in my bio there, I have a link to my blog where I review random cereals. So all the novelty ones that you might see in the grocery aisle that you're afraid of buying, I buy and try. So you don't have to.
Now, Joe, I can tell you this. I've checked out the cereal blog quite a few times. I am a cereal guy. So you're doing you're doing the Lord's work.
Now, Brian, we need a crossover. Then we can secretly provide Ant history information without him knowing.
I'll find it. I'll find the history of cereal.
There you go.
Now that type of stuff intrigues me. I'm not going to lie. I've sat and watched those shows like, the foods that built America, right? Like I'll sit and watch those shows. Part of it is because the reenactments are so ridiculous. But the other part of it is just interesting. So Ryan, you do that. You're guaranteed to get me at least one more blog read.
There you go.
Just put it on Joe's though. I don't want my browser history going to some nerd history site. Okay. Also, Joe, are you aware? I believe I heard there's going to be a new monster cereal this year. This is not a joke. I heard there's going to be some new monster cereal. They have like Boo Berry and Frankenberry and Count Chocula. And last year, I think they did the Monster Mash, or maybe that was a couple of years ago, where it was all of them in one box. I think. Now, my source could be wrong because he's 6 years old, but my source told me there's a new monster cereal coming this year.
I believe your source is correct. I think someone else had passed along that information to me.
All right. Well, I'll be on the lookout if you give it a try. I know it's not like a weird oddball cereal, but I'll keep an eye out.
It's seasonal. I'll do it.
All right. So follow Ryan. Check out his history blog. Follow Asian Joe. Check out his cereal blog. I don't have any sort of blog. So you don't have to worry about reading any nerdy stuff when you come to my stuff. But you can follow me at AntMoney on X, at AntMoney247 on Instagram. You can see my fit pics. Some of the music I listen to at the gym and stuff like that. It's kind of all I'm doing right now. But more importantly, follow the Mark Order podcast on all of our socials at Mark Order Pod, X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Follow us all over the place. If you're following us at one, go to the link tree in our bio. You can find all the other ones. Want to say thank you to everybody who watched along live with us here tonight on a Tuesday. The 1LT photos, the Jesse Ozogs, the Gordon posts. I think I saw Sloanamite hanging out in here before. I said Gordon post. Eric Freeds, I think, was in here earlier. So was Kyle K. Sparks. SJ also checked in very early on. So thank you to everybody who watched along. We know there's probably some other stuff you guys watch on a Tuesday, so we appreciate you being here with us. And to anybody who maybe is listening back in podcast form, thank you for that as well. We ask if you are listening in podcast form, take like 2 seconds to subscribe, like, rate, review on any podcast platform that you're listening to us on. You think it might not help us? It greatly helps us out, showing up in the algorithms and all the rankings and stuff like that. So just take a few minutes if you can to do those few things, to click a few buttons, maybe leave a review. And if you want to share it on your socials, hey, check these guys out, or people who are into wrestling talk, especially AEW, we're the show for them. For anybody listening in podcast form, maybe who hasn't checked us out in video form, head over to our YouTube, youtube.com/MarkOrderPod. We are looking to build our subscriber base. Ryan's trying to hit 500. We said it before. She hadn't turned us down. So right now we're going with number 500, wins a date with Kate. Patent pending.
Depending on Kate approval.
Yeah. We're gonna, what we'll do in post, guys? We'll put in one of those Micro Machine Man things. That's all the fine print. Yeah. So we're trying to get to 500 subscribed. So if you haven't yet, you can take a minute to subscribe to us on YouTube. Feel free to set the alarm so you get notified whenever we put up the link to the next live show. And you could see Ryan's backgrounds. Last week, I don't remember why, we were all smoking pipes. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're pipe people now.
We're pipe guys. The different characters sometimes that appear, give us a subscribe. Check us out in video format. It's a lot of fun. And finally, the last plug I'll do is if you would like to or can support us in a monetary fashion, you can find our t-shirts for sale up on our Pro Wrestling Tees store. There's a direct link in our link tree and our social bios. You can go to prowrestlingtees.com/markorderpod or search the Mark Order Podcast on Pro Wrestling Tees. We will pop right up. We have 4 t-shirts available for you to purchase, 2 front prints, 2 front and back prints. And any money you spend there goes back for us to put money into the production of this show, because believe it or not, folks, it does take a little bit of money to produce this show. So we appreciate those of you who have bought t-shirts. We love seeing you guys put up pictures or tag us when you're wearing your t-shirts. If you've done that, if you've bought a shirt and you haven't tagged us, let us know. Because if you bought a t-shirt and maybe you didn't get any stickers, maybe we'll hit you up and be like, hey, we can send you some stickers, because I might have a couple left over. Just saying. Just saying.
Sticker hoarder.
I mean, it's a couple. It's not a lot, but it's a couple. Anyway, that's going to do it for us here tonight. We will be back at our normal scheduled time next Wednesday, right after Dynamite, here on the Mark Order Podcast on our YouTube. And gentlemen, it's been a lot of fun on a Tuesday. I don't know what I'm going to do with my Wednesday tomorrow without doing this. I guess other stuff that I would normally do on a Tuesday. Just my guess.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Always fun. Ryan, good luck to the Phils. Seriously, I'm rooting for the Phils to win that series.
I hope so, but we'll see.
We're rooting for them. I'm definitely not hoping that your football team loses a game here soon. And I'm definitely not hoping you don't have a young hockey team who doesn't win a lot of games this year. You're picking up what I'm putting down.
I don't believe that.
Okay. Asian Joe, I hope Nebraska keeps it up for your sake.
It's a bye week. We can't lose.
Well, then you're the winner already, my man. And to everybody else out there, thanks a lot. We'll be back here next week on the Mark Order Podcast. On the Shining Wizards Network.
This concludes the Mark Order Podcast. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming. Join the Mark Order